Hello? Let's see. How loud is this? That seems pretty loud. Hey. Uh, let's see. Testing. 1, 2, 3. All right, that's good enough for me. uh, let's close that out. Take my headphone out. Oh, hold on. There was one other thing I was gonna test. What's music that won't get me copyright banned? Sonic. Alright, seems loud enough to me. Cool. Alright. So, back to this grind. Open the thing from yesterday. And we'll start. I was working on this common rider Fortuna. So, does anyone have any requests they'd like to make today? We got I think from yesterday, Koopa to Fortuna Magical Girl transformation. I have a text document with that in it. and I think that was the last thing. So, is everyone having a good day? Did you like the Kung Pao watch along stream? Hey, what's up, buddy? Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get to watch the movie because she actually streams when I'm at work. But I can usually listen in slash watch for the most part. It's a lot of fun. You know what? I can add something. Uh, text. Yeah, that's what I think I really like about Koopa is the tangents she goes on. They're a lot of fun. I can't spell. We're going Comic Sans. The Patrician's font. You know, I guess it technically doesn't really have to be Koopa related, but that's what we're advertising on. Um, Tangents were good in today's stream. Trying to think of anything else. The Wish, the Wish review was pretty good. That was fun. I liked it a lot. Yeah, all the teeth, dude. I just, people just don't get it. I gotta make my little clay golems and with fake teeth and crack pipes. What else am I supposed to do out here? It's not easy making friends, guys. Come on. I like how she skipped over the gun, but I think that might be a Twitch terms of service, or she just didn't notice it, like, at all. Oh, the syringes too. My drug addict golems. My little gremblos. Close this. And close that. That way I get an accurate representation. Isn't she streaming for like the next 3 days too? Like, isn't it uh um tomorrow, Friday, and then Saturday. I think she's streaming, or is it more than that? Doesn't she have like a Monster Hunter thing going on? Yeah, sick. Yeah, wish for crack. I probably. I remember a few years back, someone I worked with at a store was like, "Yeah, you should try Wish.com. It's got a whole bunch of cool stuff. I get my shoes from there." I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And I don't remember if I ever looked at it or not. I don't think I did. I'd seen ads for it on my browser here and there, and I was like, no, thank you. And I know, like, for a while when I was making, or I got into Warhammer 40,000, um, they'd advertise me like stuff from Wish for Warhammer. It was really weird. I don't trust Wish. Yeah, I wouldn't either, dude. Like, I think there was like one video a while ago that was like, oh, or maybe it was, bringing up AliExpress. That could have been it too. It was like, oh, 5 things you can get for models, like Warhammer models or just painting models in general from Wish. But it might have been AliExpress, and like one of them was like little dropper bottles, so you could put your paint in dropper bottles instead of like the weird ones they have. Um, and like marbles to put in those bottles so it would shake up the paint better. But it wasn't like, I think the guy was like, yeah, brushes are a no-go. You don't want any brushes from these guys. I've never ordered anything from AliExpress myself, if I'm being honest. Hmm. I ordered 2 model kits from there. Oh yeah? Like like what kind of model kits? One was well packed, the other was not so much. Yeah. That's just like Gundams. Oh, sick. The only models I had a Gundam model when I was a tiny kid. Um, I don't remember. I think my dad helped me put together, and then I painted it with like acrylic paint. uh, but I didn't prime it first. I don't know if you have to prime those. I assume you do. But I remember like the acrylic paint got really sticky, and I was always just like playing with this fucking Gundam, like, oh, it's so cool. It was pretty cool though. I got it from like a hobby store out here. Oh, you know what? I was gonna play this spooky green text, ooh, stuff, so it's not like dead air if I'm not talking. The one I really liked was about deep sea stuff. That's when I really got into it. You have to prime and top coat. You know, is top coat like a, what's it called, varnish or the sealer? Because like when I painted my Warhammer models, I did the undercoat on them with the primer, and then I painted I painted a bunch of them, and I never put like varnish or clear coat or whatever over the top of it. So like the paint kind of faded a little bit, although I still think it holds up pretty good. Yeah. I had a friend who had a whole bunch of Gundam models in his case. What army? you know, Nids and Tau, and Admech, Adeptus Mechanicus. I started with Tyranids, and then I got everything I wanted for Tau, and I started working on Admech, and then the cough happened, and I stopped playing Warhammer because the store out here closed. It just didn't seem like a good idea to play, and also a lot of money. Um, so now it's all just like sitting in a. I have like multiple tubs of all of these armies. I have one of those nice cases they sold, but I didn't pay for it technically. I had a friend who was into it, but he didn't like the guy who ran the store. So he was like, "Yeah, I'm selling my collection." I was like, "I'll give you $150 for everything." He said, "Yeah, okay." So I got like a ton of stuff. I got like everything I needed to finish out my nids. Um, well, not really. There's like other kits I wanted, but I basically had a really good army with that. Um, he had a whole bunch of Space Marine stuff. I think he was doing Death Watch. Um, what else was it? Shoot, I can't remember. Oh, some Warhammer Fantasy stuff, some demon stuff. Yeah, it was a shame. He's a really good friend of mine, though. We haven't talked though recently because we met at playing Magic, and then we both quit together because it was not fun out here. It just like once we got really competitive into it, everyone started kind of turning on each other, and it got really like cutthroat and not fun. But yeah, I want to go shooting with him at some point, but we'll see. Water slides and panel lines need to be top coated because they're really fragile. Water slides. Okay. I have no idea what water slides and panel lines are. I I are you talking about like texture paints for like the bases? Um, because I have some of their like the Warhammer official texture paints. Um, like the one for Mars and a couple other ones. Oh, I also got all his paint, but I haven't opened it in like a year now, I think. Um, so they're probably all bad. Sorry, I keep hitting the mic. I try to bring it closer today. Gotta love that Blue Yeti slide across the desk ASMR. We're gonna tackle the hard part this time. We're gonna go flowers first. And now I'm gonna look up what a bouquet of flowers looks like. What kind of flowers should we go with? Nothing too complex. She likes roses, I think. Because that's what the hairpin is that I never draw. Roses. Yeah, sounds good to me. Unless if there's any other suggestions. Sorry, panel line's a little paint that you put in. Oh, we call them. I think we call them washes out here. Is it like the really wet, runny paint that you just like put over the model and then it'll sink into the recesses and like shade those? We just call that a shade. I think, or wash. We call it a wash or a shade. I don't remember. Or that's how they advertise it. I'm gonna be honest, guys. I'm gonna draw like one rose, and then we're gonna copy and paste it. Sorry, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. So you said you got two Gundam models, right? Was it like did you do you did you regret that after, or was it like, oh, these are sick? Like, were they actually pretty good? Strikers? Oh, stickers. Okay, we call them decals, I think, or they might be called stickers. I actually don't know. I tended not to use them, or the armies I have, I don't think had very many of them. Control T, Control C, Control V. Oops. I should have colored them. I should have colored them first. Yeah, whatever. Oh, yeah, I got a. You know, I actually have three pairs of clippers. Um, or maybe. Yeah, I think I have like three pairs now. Um, and it's like the official Warhammer ones. They're like super expensive. They're like $30 for like a pair of clippers, although they were very good for the most part. And the way that I got three was that the buddy I was talking about, he had a pair in his collection. Um and I had, or he had two pairs, I think. I don't remember. I had to check. Yeah, the same ones, cuz I had bought a pair at the local store, Warhammer store, and he had two pairs. One of them, the like whatever it uses to kind of keep it tight, so it's not like floppy. I think the center pin or whatever where the two pieces meet, uh, that got screwed up, so it's just like super loose. The other one, I think it's like a spring or something. The other one was okay, and then the pair I bought got a chip in them, and I don't know how it happened. So it was really screwing up like my precise cuts, because it's supposed to be like, two flat edges, like sharp flat edges meet, so you can get those like precision clips on small pieces. And somehow the end of mine had gotten chipped, um, and I contacted them being like, hey, I got these. They're supposed to be really good. I paid $30 for them because the guy at the store had recommended I contact their customer service. And like, oh, really? Do you have your receipt? And luckily, I found it. I didn't throw it out. I had it like in my pants because I just gotten it like that week or something. Um, I don't remember. Or maybe it was in the bag. I don't remember. I had found it, and um, I called their like customer service, and I was like, hey, this is broken or whatever, and you know, what can we do? He's like, oh, we'll just send you a replacement. Just send us a copy of your email or your receipt. And I was like, oh, sick. So I did that, and they sent me a new one. So that's how I have like three or four pairs or whatever. I think I think it's two or three pairs. At least it's not on some god hands. $60 names. Ooh, $60 for clippers. Those must be like super insane. Because I don't even think that the clippers I bought are like all that stuff. I think is super marked up, but they're still pretty good. Like when I had first started playing, they had I had bought like a start painting kit, and that came with like a whole bunch of, or like 12 or 10 small bottles of paint, and like these clippers that are like the most basic hardware clippers you can get, and they were just really bad, but they worked. But I had to clean up all the cut lines with an X-Acto knife like all the time, which I already did anyways, but it felt like I was shaving more plastic off than I would with like the real ones. And then, like I said, I bought the real ones and then my friend's collection, and so now I have like multiple pairs. They're really good but really fragile. Yeah. I think I think I don't know what happened with mine. I want to say like I was being really dumb and I clipped like an actual piece of metal with them, but I don't think I did that. I really don't. I think we need more roses, I'll be honest. You know, we'll add some other flowers. What pairs are with roses? Lavender, catmint, tall growing pinks. What's that? What's tall growing pinks? Dianthus. Oh, those are pretty cool. Um, what am I doing? Hold on, sorry.
I'm a professional diver Anon. I
The
posted a story of mine a couple
spooky stuff's
weeks
gonna
ago
play
or
now.
so. Not
Like
going to
focus on
write it up
drawing.
again,
Although I do
but
like
to
talking
give
to
the
you guys.
gist of it, I was doing body recovery on contract for the police, found a body and attached a line and started swimming to the surface when something grabbed the body and started dragging it at incredible speed. I cut the line just in time to prevent myself from being yanked down with it. I'm sure some of you deep-sea loving Anons will remember it. I've got a couple other stories of my own that I can go into more depth if you guys want. Mostly stuff involving fish that were a bit too big for comfort coming to take a look while I was doing some welding, or that time my rebreather malfunctioned and I started having a full-blown drug trip while I was 200 meters underwater. Fun stuff. I've got a ton of more interesting stories though, mostly from other divers. I can't speak to the truth of them because I wasn't there. Some are pretty out there. Keep in mind, some of these stories are sort of like diver urban legends, they get passed around until nobody can remember where they got started. The story I'm about to tell you though, I heard from a good friend of mine, a dive master and the guy who trained me on my first dives. I have no reason to believe he's lying. This was back sometime in the late 80s I believe. My friend, let's call him Frank, had just gotten out of the Navy and started doing civilian work. Mostly welding, and he worked with the police for a short time like I did. Like me for Frank, diving was both a hobby and a job. So he would spend his weekends exploring known shipwrecks and points of interest known to the local diving community. Sometimes he would just set anchor in a random spot and dive down to see what he could find. He usually found a whole lot of nothing, but on this particular occasion he hit the jackpot. Metaphorically
really
speaking,
like this kind of stuff
because there was nothing good about what he found. He was doing an extreme depth dive that day, which as I explained in my last post. I'm not going to name the lake he was diving in just in case it somehow leads back to him, but it was a very large lake that was 900 plus feet deep. So he was pushing the boundaries a bit, especially since he was solo diving without any partners. He gets to the bottom, and as per usual there's just the usual sand, silt and some rocks covered with algae. Not even any fish that he could see. He digs around in the sand a bit to see if he can find anything, and he feels something hard and smooth buried a few inches under the surface. Frank grabs it, and tries to take a look at it a bit further up away from the floating sand. It was some sort of prescription bottle with the label worn/torn off. So he puts it off to the side and keeps digging, finds something much bigger right away. He pulls it out of the sand, and to his shock he's staring at a human skull. He digs around in the sand some more to find the bones, pretty much feeling his way around because the fine sediments he was digging up made his visibility zero. He found something else hard and pulled it out, but it wasn't another bone. It was another skull. He kept digging and found on his estimate at least 200, likely more skeletal remains at the bottom. Mixed in with the skeletons were, he estimated, thousands upon thousands of prescription bottles like the one he found earlier. He didn't have enough oxygen/time to stay down for long, so he dug around in a few spots to see how large the dump of bodies and bottles was. He estimated it must have been almost 50 by 50 feet roughly in size. So it's possible that there could have been many, many more bodies there than his estimate. Probably the
Oh
spookiest
wow.
bit is, since he had done
Yeah, this
work
guy's
with
really
the police, he
popular.
knew what a body looks like underwater at various stages of decomposition. The
I
bones
had
had been picked clean by the
found it
fish,
when
but the
listening at
bones
work
themselves couldn't have been there
last
for
year,
much longer than 5 years.
and I've just been keeping up
Like
with
a
it.
good citizen, Frank carried one of the skull pieces up with him to the surface. He talked to some of the people he'd worked in the police with as a diver, and they immediately told him that they were not going to investigate and that he should never speak about it again. Being someone who valued his own skin, Frank did just that, and ended up moving to the other side of the country about a year later. He never told me why, but I've got the feeling that he no longer felt safe working/living there. Okay, time for one of my own shorter stories. Frank has more interesting stories than me, but I want to share some stuff from my own personal experiences as well. This actually happened just last year. I was doing some maintenance/repair work on a dam for an artificial lake. I had chosen this spot to work in particular because it was a treasure trove for exploration as a diver. Since the lake was artificial, there were several small villages, farms and homes that had been submerged when it was constructed, something that's actually surprisingly common when it comes to artificial lakes. So I was down at the bottom of the dam, doing a visual inspection of the gate guides and seal plates, trying to find anything that needed maintenance or replacement. It was summer, so the water was pretty murky and visibility was low. Something shoved/nudged me on the back and I turned around expecting to see my dive partner, but instead I was starting right at the face of the biggest, ugliest catfish I've ever seen. Water does weird things to your perception of size, but I could swear this thing must have been the size of a small SUV. If it had wanted to, it could have eaten me no problem. I froze in place because I hadn't expected to be in danger from the aquatic wildlife on a freshwater dive, but he swam away and circled around for a while as I worked. It's actually fairly common, fish watching you while you work, but I've never seen one as big as this before. I'm just glad he wasn't hungry. This next story is a bit out there, so to speak. I trust Frank, but being deep underwater can do strange things to the human mind. Narcosis can and does cause hallucinations among other mental disruptions. I've experienced it myself firsthand. When it's happening, your brain can't distinguish reality from the hallucination, and there's never a point in your mind where you go, oh wow, I'm tripping. Because it's usually a case of the frog boiling where it comes on you slowly. Anyway, back to the story. This was probably late 90s to early 2000s? Frank wasn't really clear on the date when he told me the story. Frank at this point has graduated from casual wreck exploration to full-blown treasure hunting. He's got a boat with sonar designed to find shipwrecks and all sorts of neat stuff. To this day he hasn't found anything of actual value, but I suppose the thrill of the chase is a treasure of its own. It was the long weekend, so Frank was making a big expedition to a remote part of the coastline where an old ship apparently sunk in the early colonial period. Nobody ever found the wreck. Their route was known, but there was a storm and they never arrived. The location was extremely remote. You either got there by boat, almost a 2-day trip from the nearest suitable launch, or you hiked there on foot. Frank figured that the remoteness of the area accounted for the wreck never being found, which is why he was so keen to search himself. He still talks to me about going back there today, since he now has a portable sonar system that you can mount on a canoe. He didn't have one of those back then, so he just packed a bunch of food and supplies for the weekend along with his diving gear. I doubt you could even carry a canoe with you on that hike, but if anyone could, it would be Frank. He gets to the ocean, sets up camp a ways away from the ocean in a sheltered nook, then drags his gear down the ocean and goes for a dive. First day he just snorkels mostly. Second day, after he has the lay of the land, his words, not mine, Frank decided to go diving. He only had 2 cylinders of air with him from the hike, so he had to make his time count if he wanted to find anything. The entire expedition was ill-advised in my opinion, but Frank does what Frank wants. Apparently he thought he knew exactly where that damn wreck was because he had figured out where the currents would be pulling any debris. So he sets out for that spot, swims in and dives. Frank gets to the bottom and to his disappointment, does not find a shipwreck or sunken treasure or anything really of interest. There's a lot of just various debris and shit, some pop cans, trash and garbage even. Just when he's about to give up, he hears the telltale sound of a boat motor coming from the surface. His immediate instinct is to surface and say hi, but his instincts were screaming something else. So he decided to wait and see until he ran out of oxygen and head to surface. He swims up a bit closer to the surface to see if he can find the boat, following the sound. He sees coming above him and cut off the engines. Something big gets tossed into the water and begins to sink like a rock. Frank said that it was immediately obvious to him what it was based on the silhouette, But he didn't really fully realize until the man sank past him, eyes bulging with shock, screaming with empty lungs. Frank followed him to the bottom as fast as he could. When he got there, the guy was still conscious, but just barely. He pulled off his rebreather and fitted over the guy's face while trying to free his legs. His legs had been put in buckets full cement. Frank alternated breaths on the rebreather for about 15 minutes while desperately trying to break the guy's feet out of the concrete, without any luck. The whole time he thought the guy was trying to talk to him, trying to say something that he couldn't understand. After about 15 minutes, Frank realized that he couldn't get his legs free. If he stayed down any longer, he would run out of air and die himself. He said leaving the guy down there to drown was the hardest damn thing he ever did. The poor bastard realized Frank was leaving and frantically grabbed him, trying to rip off his rebreather and keep it for himself. Frank ended up kicking him in the face and swimming off without looking back. He reported it to the police and they found the body about a week later. It was a mob-related killing. Apparently it actually happens more often than you think. I don't think Frank ever got over what happened, the way he described it. First the pure relief and joy when Frank gave him rebreather, and the agonized, panicked fear when he realized Frank was leaving him. Being someone who dives for a living, I've had lots of friends who drowned on the job for various reasons. It's not something you really dwell on a lot, but this man has always stuck with me. What the hell was he thinking, in his final moments? It's probably due to my line of work, but I've got a bit of a fascination with death. Or rather, the final thoughts right before death. That last, final spark before everything gets snuffed out forever. I have more stories to tell you Enans, but I've got to go do real life shit now. So if this thread is still here later, I'll come and post some more. If not, I'll post them in the next deep sea thread that I come across. Thanks for all the kind words. Oh, that's the black carpet. Allegedly a bit of an urban legend amongst deep sea divers. I'm that diver Anon if anyone was in the last deep sea thread. I've heard about this thing a couple times from co-workers and buddies. I don't remember the details of the full story right now to be honest, but I'll talk to my buddy sometime and see if he remembers and post them on here. But the basic gist that I can remember is that this thing is some sort of colony organism, like a giant moving coral. It's a giant black carpet of macrobiotic cells that crawls over the ocean floor, sifting those nutrients with millions of tiny fillers. Nobody has ever gotten a good estimate of the size other than it's big and apparently it makes a noise similar to this bloop thing. One guy apparently saw it swimming/riding the currents as well, so it does more than just crawl on the ocean floor. I suppose you could call it a one-of-a-kind organism, but I'm not sure if that applies to colony organisms like this.
Macrobiotic cells. So you're saying the ocean floor is covered by a giant jellyfish?
Essentially, yes. According to how the black carpet has been described to me, it shares many similarities to a jellyfish. One story I heard had a diver getting stung by some sort of large feeler strand that apparently hangs off the top, similar to a jellyfish. There was this really old retired diver I talked to who claimed to have seen it. He claimed to have seen an entire decomposing sperm whale being consumed by the carpet. I should really
like I said, if anyone has more Koopa-related requests,
if it's similar to a
you can go ahead and
jellyfish and
put
is
them in the
actually
chat.
a colony of
Honestly,
then it might be related to the Portuguese
they don't all.
man-o'-war.
I guess they don't technically have to be
The way I've heard
Koopa-related,
it
but
described, it
I
shares
figured
more
since most
similarities
of
with
us
a
like
starfish
Koopa,
or
it's
sea
probably the
anemone than a
best.
jellyfish. The marine biologist guy
But I
who
can't
said
make
he'd
any
seen it had
promises
some
on most of
interesting
them
thoughts
because
on what it was.
if something's like way too
His idea is
complicated, I
that it's
probably
some
will
sort of holdover slash
either do a
descendant
quick
from the very
one
first invertebrate forms of
or
life on Earth.
not do it very well.
He did a whole long
but
talk about
we'll
how
see.
coral is one of the oldest forms of life on the planet, and the reason why the ocean is the only place teeming with large invertebrate creatures is because that's where all life first evolved. In his mind, jellyfish and all other sea invertebrates probably evolved from this thing rather than vice versa. This giant sea carpet or whatever would have been one of those very first life forms to ever exist on Earth, technically making it one of our ancient ancestors. It's a pretty cool theory, all things considered. So I talked to my buddy and I'm going to start writing up some of the stories I've heard about the black carpet. This is the first story I heard of it, from some Finnish bloke with a strong accent. He was doing a deep sea dive repairing some sort of cable. I assume it was probably fiber optic. As he told it, initially he thought he was in the wrong spot because he couldn't find the cable anywhere. He starts searching and eventually finds one end just the one. Sheared clean through. He gets his dive buddy to stay with that end of the line while he goes looking for the other end, swimming in a straight line in the direction of the other line. In his estimation, he swam about half a mile before he found the other end of the line. He stressed to me that the entire half a mile middle section of the line was just completely gone. It was a huge deal and everyone thought it was the Russians, but this guy was sure that this carpet thing had done it. Said he heard the noise it apparently makes, even thought he never saw it. This next story is from my buddy. He heard it from a guy who heard it from another guy who heard it from another guy, so take it with a heavy grain of salt. This guy is doing a dive, depth, location, what he was doing never got specified.
Put the
Just that
list
he
on
was really
stream
deep.
too. Give me
He
one
starts
second.
hearing this odd noise that gets associated with the carpet a lot. The way he described was similar to that video of the blue. Ultra low pitch, sort of like a super creepy distorted whale song. As he gets closer he hears this almost static crackling noise as well. The way he described it was like a million prawns getting cracked open at once, if that makes any difference. As he gets closer to the bottom, the noises are getting louder and louder. At this point he was thinking that he's hearing some sort of sonar from a submarine and that some jackass submarine crew is playing a joke on him. When the guy gets to the bottom he shines his light around, trying to find whatever he's looking for. And what he was that the sea floor had literally come to life and was crawling past him. This is probably the best description of the carpet you're going to get. According to this guy, carpet is at least a mile long / wide. Made mostly of these strange black feelers that apparently make the strange popping noise. Most of the top is covered with various sand, rocks, debris, with feelers poking through. Also a few long transparent stalks, as he described them, that float upwards.
That's the list so far.
Apparently some of these were like 20 feet long. According to the guy it was singing, which doesn't make any fucking sense to me, but whatever. Guy swam back up to the surface and claimed he had an equipment malfunction. Came back down a couple hours later and got there just in time to see the last of the thing disappear. Apparently it stretched as far as the eye could see. Which isn't that far at the bottom of the ocean, but still. This one is an old urban legend.
Thanks for stopping by, everyone who's here.
Years.
Really
Never heard
appreciate
a
it.
concrete source of it, so emo it probably never happened. Especially since it involves a submarine crew, so I'm not sure how a diver would have heard about it, since as far as I know submarine crew
4chan, X, deep sea threads, and dive anon stories.
crews usually stay inside their ship. Anyway, here goes. Submarine is doing something. Either war
Thanks,
games
dude.
or
I really
patrolling
like
for
your art
Chinese
too.
/
You know,
Russian / North Korean
I like your
/
coloring
bad
and
guy
stuff a lot.
submarines.
It's like, and your
The story
shading.
isn't terribly
So,
consistent about
I love
this.
your stuff,
I hear
man.
it different every single time.
Thanks for the support.
For whatever reason,
I look
they are
forward
not using
to
active
your
sonar
drawings
because
too.
they want to avoid detection, floating dead somewhere a couple hundred meters off the sea floor. They're just sitting there, chilling and listening with their sensors, trying to detect enemy submarines or whatever. When they start hearing the noise, their sensors can't make any sense of it, and it's getting louder at an alarming rate. Starts out as something only the
We're all
sensors
gonna.
can hear.
That's
but
fucking
before
right.
long,
Hold
the
on.
entire crew is hearing this strange,
1 second. Let's see. Where is this? Where's my favorite? Where's my favorite one? Alright, hold on. Attention, troopers. This is a public service announcement. We're all gonna make it. We're gonna make it, bros. Thank you. I got this voice changer thing. It's a lot of fun to mess with. Yo. Dude, maybe at the end of this I'll reveal my shitty VTuber model. That's never gonna get finished because I had to change stuff and I might make a new one. But I got the mouth rigging done and that was a lot of fun. Yeah. I wanted to do face cam because I wanted to do streaming before the Koopa thing and all this art stuff anyways, because I like visual comedy. I like when I'm watching a video and someone dies and you can just see the soul leave their body. But I also don't want anyone I know to recognize me. Which I don't think will be likely, but I'm very paranoid about that. But the whole model thing is on hold because I figured I might as well just start streaming without it because that's what's been holding me back. I had it. You sure they wouldn't recognize it? They probably would recognize my voice. Like, I'm sure they would, but like I would be more worried about them recognizing my face than my voice. Cause like if you tune into a stream and you see someone's like face cam, then it's instant. But if you hear their voice, it could be like, oh, is that who I think it is? Probably not. Oops. But yeah, I got the voice changer thing initially for the streaming stuff, but I used it during Dungeons and Dragons too, since we were playing online, and that was fun. Sometimes I would just use it when talking to my two buddies just for fun. Oh, I used it, or allegedly, I used it to read the uh, Koopa pasta that gets posted all the time. That may or not have been me reading it. I think I used the cave one, which is my favorite, for one of those. If it was me that read it. Oh, back to the story.
Distorted humming/singing that people always associate with the carpet. Captain thinks the only explanation is that it's some sort of new sonar/jamming technology and order the sonar crew to send out a ping to locate the source of the noise.
Can I get full
This
shot
is
of
the
the drum?
part
Sure.
of the story that stays the most consistent, I assume because it's the most memorable. The sonar operator shouts out new sonar contact.
Those are some
Mary,
tiny flowers, now
sir,
that I think about it.
What's our depth?
We'll fix
The
it.
captain
It'll be
replies,
fixed.
500 meters or whatever depth the submarine is supposed to be at. The sonar operator replies, but sir, the sonar says the sea floor is 10 meters below us. The captain says that's nonsense, then walks over to the sonar station. Checks the reading, then walks over to the helmsman and checks the depth.
On the right?
Checks the nautical charts for
Oh,
where they
the...
are.
Dude, just
Somehow,
do it.
apparently, the ocean
There's
has
nothing
gotten
stopping
about
you. I'm not gonna be
200
mad
meters
about it.
shallower.
You think I'm gonna be
The captain
mad
orders
that
another
someone's
ping from the
making
sonar to
art
try and locate the source of the noise.
to support
Sonar operator
their-
speaks up again.
their Oshi?
Concerned.
Nah.
Sir, the ocean is
Now.
getting deeper again. Captain asks
I would
him
be
to
mad.
repeat himself. Ocean floor is once again
If,
expected depth, sir.
I
Captain
don't
takes
have a
look
joke for that.
himself, and sure enough, they are no longer 10
But,
meters above the ocean
yeah, dude,
floor.
just do it.
There is
I think
also
someone
a very,
suggested...
very large
Or no.
dot on the screen behind the submarine. Captain asks,
Sorry, my allergies are selecting up. What happened was the first person, I think, who got in the stream yesterday requested that I draw Koopa giving birth, and I said no. I will not do that. But I'll draw her after giving birth. And technically, I think it was Fortuna. So, I would say just go for it. With the Koopa holding Troopa. It's sweet. I'm sure she'd love it. I do it for some cat... Listen, dude. Listen. I will not confirm or deny what I will do for money. But that is not on the top of my list. I have a... I have a day job. Although... Depends on the number. If you throw me a number, we'll talk about it. But, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. If I didn't have my day job, I would instantly be like, dude, just give me like $5 and I'll do it. It won't be good, but I'll do it. Tangerine. Listen, dude. I'm just saying. If it was really bad, if it was really bad for me, which, you know what, I'm not gonna lie, bros, I'm making it. I'm gonna make it. I would probably be like, listen, dude, please $5. I'll fucking do it. But right now, it's if anyone offered money for that, it'd probably have to be enough for me to what's that word? To soil my pure. I'm trying to be pure, guys. I'm trying not to be a pink. There's a lot of ideas that I have every once in a while, and I think to myself, don't do that. You're not a pink. They're not bad, but they sure are not pure. Although I guess technically she does support people drawing that stuff. Thank God I can draw my own degenerate Condor. It's gonna be the only line art, but do whatever you want, man. Whatever makes you happy for the most part. As long as you're not hurting other people. That's what you want to draw? That's what you want to draw? I'm not going to fault you for it. What the hell am I doing? Did you have anything that you want to be drawn, Mala? Since you're here? Yeah, because if you're here, you can make a request. That's the point of this stream. Also, for me not to be lonely when I draw. Koopa in full body cast? What's a... Is that lewd? Oh, I know what you're talking about. Like a cast, like if you break if you break your arms and legs and stuff. Like that? It's fit. Yeah, it really is. That lady, our wonderful hag mom, she really does have the worst luck when it comes to health. I feel so bad for her. You know, hold on, what is it? What's the thing? I know what I'm gonna Koopa. Hold on. I know what we're gonna draw for that. We're gonna draw the SpongeBob meme. The every morning I break my legs, and every afternoon I break my arms. At night I lie awake in agony until my heart stops. Or sorry, every night I lie awake in agony until my heart attacks put me to sleep. Oops. That's what we're gonna do. Don't pity your mom. Sorry, bro. Just can't. The heart wants what the heart wants. Koopa laying in bed gets some rest of smile on her face. I'm gonna draw that. It's gonna look like she's dead. What is that meme? Is this woman asleep? Wrong. She's deceased. Koopa full body cast. Koopa resting with a smile. It's still gonna it's still gonna happen. I think she'll like it. I think she likes all the art that people make for her. Shoot. Usually I draw expressions on a different layer. Oh wait. No, I can still save this. I know you know that feel, Mala. Have you ever got that feel, or anyone else who draws, that when you're drawing and all of a sudden you uncheck the visibility on a layer and then everything disappears and you find out you've been drawing on the wrong layer? That's what kills my soul sometimes. Feels good. I don't know about that one, dude. I don't know if I agree with you on that one. Tear my soul apart. I've been drawing so much. I think I got in the rhythm that it's not happening to me as much anymore. Yeah, that's nice. I think it happens when I get really distracted. Because I'll be talking to my friends or watching something, and I think I get distracted for a moment, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, didn't go back to the layer I was on. There I am. And I just be like, all right, that's the art rep for today. Back to the spooky story.
Asks what the large contact is. Sonar operator, equipment malfunction, sir. Captain pings again. Just out of curiosity. The equipment malfunction has maintained its shape and is continuing to move away from the submarine, and apparently taking the strange noise with it. Again, this is basically an old wives' tale amongst deep-sea divers, so take it with a grain of salt. It's possible that a submarine detected the carpet or whatever on sonar and that's the origin of the story, but I highly doubt this actually happened. Still makes for a cool story though. Last story for now, I'll see if I can dig up some more later. This is from the old guy I talked about earlier. Nice guy, marine biologist who has done both deep-sea wells and nature research/studies with ROFs. Apparently the carpet ate one of his ROFs on an expedition. According to him, it happened late one night while the rest of the crew was sleeping. He was pulling an all-nighter studying the sea life around volcanic vents. He's moving the ROF from one vent area to the next when he sees what he described as churning sediments on the sea floor, a giant moving cloud of underwater dust essentially moving towards the ROF. He moves in closer and sees what he describes as colossal echinoderm crawling along the sea floor, with long, dexterous filament probing the sea floor ahead of it. He maneuvers the ROF in for a closer look and uses the arm to prod one of the filaments. In the blink of an eye he lost contact with the ROF. Apparently it happened so fast he didn't even see it happen. 1 second the thing was about 5 meters away from the vehicle, the next second it had swallowed the thing whole. His excuse for not having footage was that the footage was all recorded and stored on the ROF rather than being recorded on the operating station, which seems fishy to me. He was, however, very confident in himself. To the extent he claims that he is the discoverer of this new species. He even gave it a name, which I completely forgot because it was so stupid and boring. Giant sea carpet sounds cooler anyway. Way back in the mid-1980s I read in a book on cryptids that there was something called the hide. Apparently it was a flattish thing with eyes along the rim, about the size of a large cowhide, hence the name. From what I recall the one observation was of such a creature rising up out of an underwater trench to absorb a shark who'd somehow become paralyzed by it. It was observed at some distance by a diver. Does any of that ring a bell to anyone? Supposedly took place somewhere off the Pacific coast of South America. I've heard some people who claim to have seen that thing or other similar things. A lot of stuff I've heard from other divers seems like they could be attributed to very rare/large siphonophores that live in the deep sea. What you're talking about was described to me as a sort of pancake-shaped creature that would hide under the sand with a single small near-transparent tentacle floating upwards. A diver touched it, spasmed, and immediately the creature rose out of the sand to devour him. Don't touch strange shit in the ocean, people. May as well go on a tangent and talk about some other stories I've heard that might be attributed to siphophores. There was this one cranky old retired diver who swore he'd seen a sea monster of unfathomable size on a dive once. I always assumed he was full of shit, but the way he described it sounds a lot like a siphonophore. The story went something like this. He was on a dive doing something that I've forgotten when he sees an absolutely giant tentacle stretching up from the nearby drop-off. The thing was so huge he couldn't see no beginning nor end to it, and so now he goes around constantly claiming to have come within a hairbreadth of devourment by a gargantuan sea leviathan of unfathomable proportion. And yes, that is exactly how he talked. Looking into these siphonophores, it makes total sense that something like this could exist, though it would be less of a sea monster than a giant serpentine jelly blob sifting through plankton and floating nutrients. Another siphonophore-related story I've heard is one about an absolutely gargantuan jellyfish-type creature that was allegedly about the size of a military submarine. The diver who saw it said the thing was so massive it had somehow developed its own biosphere with various species of fish circling around and swimming inside it. He described it as having an appearance like a giant upside-down orchid suspended underneath a massive sphere of translucent jelly. The coloration was very dull, but that might have just been due to the extreme depth. This story is off on a bit of a tangent, very much out there in terms of believability. It's not a very widespread of widely believed story, mostly because of how crazy/supernatural it is. If you work as a diver for long enough, you're bound to run into a few people like this. Ultra superstitious guys who believe in all sorts of curses, black luck, sea monsters, etc. A common belief you'll find among many of them is this sea deity/god/demon called Davy Jones, who roams the seafloor searching for divers or sailors who have displeased him for one reason or another. Whenever someone or something is lost at sea and never recovered, Davy Jones has got it. What makes this /x/related is the description one guy gave me of this Davy Jones, because it's pretty spooky. The guy claimed to have seen on one of his dives a trail of giant footprints approximately as long in length as he was tall, so about 5.5 feet long since the guy was pretty short. And though he'd never seen it himself, he claimed that one of his friends had. This Davy Jones was a bipedal humanoid that stood over 200 feet tall on tall, stalk-like limbs that was walking along the sea floor, kicking up great clouds of silt behind him as he walked. According to this guy, to look him in the face is instant death, for his visage be too horrifying for any mere human to behold.
Thanks for sharing, Anon. Whereabouts in the world did this story come from?
Alright.
I met the guy while I was working in the Hibernia oil field in 2009. Fun story, I refused to do any oil.
Yo, rip my stream. Sorry. Let's see. What am I gonna do now? Color. That's right. We were gonna color and then move on to this other 4 drawings. Just gonna do some fast colors. Just for hair and eyes. That was what we're gonna do. Now, usually I just eyedropper the old drawings I have, which is probably what I'm going to do now. Where the hell did this come from? What the fuck is that? Oh my god. What is that? What is that? How did you... There we go. File open. Yeah, we'll go with the recent Koopa Doodle thing. I think I have all the colors I need there. Oh, and then the spooky story.
Oil rig work now because a lot of it is really sketchy and you end up having to pull a 10+ hour shift while doing very delicate work deep underwater, and I was afraid after that big Mexico oil spill that I'd fuck something up and cause a massive spill. So yeah, I don't do jobs like that anymore even though they pay really well.
Ever seen a ghost underwater?
Yes. Well, to be more specific, I saw a hallucination of my dead father because the oxygen injector on my rebreather malfunctioned on a dive and gave me a bad case of narcosis. I was definitely hallucinating, but it really felt like him, if that makes any sense. The one at 409 looks almost exactly like a very small version of what I've heard the black carpet is described as. I'm going to try and get in contact with the old biologist guy who saw the carpet and ask him some more questions. So I finally got hold of the old biologist guy on the phone and talked to him about the sea carpet again. According to him, it is not a siphonophore. He qualified that by saying that siphonophores are not
And these
fast
are just
or
going to
mobile.
be quick and
They survive by basically
and dirty,
floating around,
so
expending
probably
very
not
little energy and occasionally snagging a
clean
meal with the
them
neurotoxin
up too
stinger
much.
tentacles. He talked for a while about what makes the carpet seemingly a biological impossibility. According to him, something of that size wouldn't get enough food/energy to survive and keep up its level of activity just from scavenging sediments on the seabed. Siphonophores can get really huge because they sort of sit around and let food come to them without any energy expenditure. So the profile of the carpet fits more with an active predator/scavenger than a passive one. I mentioned to him that I'd heard stories about decomposing corpses of whales being seen by some people being digested by the carpet, and he got really excited about that. His working theory is that the carpet is an entirely unknown form of life, in the sense that it is a colony organism similar to a siphonophore, but the individual cells are much more complex and capable than those of a siphonophore. Keep in mind this is purely theoretical stuff he's pulling out of his ass to try and explain why something that should be physically/biologically impossible might exist. He's studied siphonophores quite extensively, and one thing that remains a mystery is how the cells communicate, considering they have no central nervous system or brain to speak of. They're basically just big bacteria. The key apparently is high-frequency vibrations. He hasn't been able to prove it yet because it's damn hard to get your hands on a siphonophore to study, but he thinks the individual cells vibrate to communicate with one another and pass a message along the entire organism. His theory is that the carpet is basically the siphonophore equivalent of a Russian nesting doll. Rather than being a colony of individual cells, it is a colony of individual multicellular siphonophores and is therefore the missing link between single-celled life and complex multicellular life. The bloop noise which the carpet apparently makes is actually millions of these creatures communicating in their own primitive language. Since siphonophores can reproduce asexually, he envisions the carpet as constantly evolving in size and shape depending on the environment and amount of food it can consume. So perhaps after consuming the carcass of a very large creature like a whale or a giant squid, it would be extremely large and have a large amount of cells, but would eventually shrink as it self-consumed unneeded cells. The multicellular structure of the carpet serves a twofold purpose, both serving as a distraction from potential predators similar to a lizard losing its tail while running away, and a long-term storage of nutrients. Since big meals are few and far between at the bottom of the ocean, the carpet stores the energy it consumes by creating more cells and growing larger, which it will consume between meals whenever it needs energy. Not just that, but he's very convinced that the very first forms of life on Earth evolved in the deep ocean near volcanic vents, making the carpet the oldest existing form of life on the planet by far. He talked my ear off for a while, but I don't have much more interesting to tell you guys other than this for now. Though I feel that even though this is /x/ and people come here to hear about supernatural/weird stories and shit, this is just the hypothesis of one guy who apparently saw the carpet once. It's by no means the definitive truth, and this guy hasn't ever actually been able to perform a real scientific study on it. He just saw it once and is drawing conclusions from what little knowledge he has. Diver and on here, I'm back with some more stories from my colleagues around the world. Please sit around the campfire and enjoy a good old-fashioned thread. They don't make them like they used to. Have you heard of the raptures of the deep? Few people have. 30 meters below the surface, water pressure alters the properties of gases within the human body. What was once harmless or vital begins to poison your mind. The deeper the depth, the deadlier the poison becomes. Symptoms include impairment, euphoria, laughter, anxiety, hallucinations, hysteria, terror, and death. And yet, we still venture into these depths, risking our lives and minds, delving into a place where the barrier between the mind and reality becomes thin. Those of us who return can bring with us only memories of that alien world beneath the waves. These are some of those memories. Tales from beyond the depths of madness. My first story of the night is not set in the depths of the ocean, but rather on the surface.
this is
This
pre-bonk.
story was told to me by the captain of a ship I was on for research work. A good Aussie chap. He
Poor
always
guy
had a
didn't know
good
what was
yarn
coming
or
to him.
story to tell about life at sea. At the beginning of his career on the sea, he was the greenhorn on a commercial deep-sea fishing trawler. They mostly caught black cod, though a lot of other fish got caught in the net and discarded. He said that the deeper you laid your nets, the stranger the things you pulled to the surface would be. Beyond a certain depth the fish become inedible, their flesh transforming into a pale, gelatinous substance not long after reaching the surface. One night in particular, it seems, this crew set their nets too deep. As the nets raised out of the water, dripping wet and filled with pale wriggling flesh, it became apparent that something was wrong. The fish were screaming. The noise was unbearable. Some of the crew ran below deck and the rest put in earplugs. After some debate, they opened up the net on the deck to examine the fish. The captain swore that when they did, he saw fish with human faces. Distorted, corpulent, distended but unmistakably human. And they were screaming. Pale blobs of flesh with a drooping face, fleshy nose and black eyes, wretchedly screaming in anger, pain or hate. They were quickly thrown overboard and the crew fished in shallower waters from that point onward. The next story is one of my own. Those of you who have been in previous threads might recall me talking about this briefly. I was doing a mixed gas dive to the bottom, which was 60 meters at this part of the lake.
Yeah.
Mostly I was just looking
'Cause
for
they had, like,
valuables or other odds
human
and ends that had
faces.
ended up at the bottom of the lake.
So it was like a
When I was a kid, I
spooky
lost
thing.
a tooth on a boat trip. I think that was when my fascination with the deep began. My mind fixated on the idea of my tooth sinking to the murky bottom and lying there, lost to the depths, forever. I enjoy finding those lost things and bringing them back to the surface. It's so rare that you can bring something tangible with you from the deep. On this particular day, I brought back with me something that was intangible, yet infinitely more valuable than any treasure. I still had over half my cylinder and was enjoying skimming over the lake floor, sifting through the sediment and whatever odds and ends had ended up there. Out of the blue, I had a powerful intuition that I was being watched. I turned around and saw a man standing there behind me on the ocean floor. He smiled at me broadly and waved his hand. That's when I recognized him, in a sort of stilted shock. I was face to face with my dead father on the lake floor, 60 meters below the surface. He pointed to my cylinder and said something, his face wrinkled with concern. Well,
No.
he tried to speak. When he opened his mouth, only
Don't
bubbles
even
came
think
out
I've
and I
gone
couldn't
any
understand
farther
what he
than a
was trying
regular
to say.
beach.
He pointed again, directly at my oxygen
I'm honestly
regulator.
I like the
It
ocean.
slowly
A
dawned on
little
me
bit
what
afraid
was
of it though. It's
happening.
pretty spooky.
My equipment was malfunctioning, giving me an improper mix of gases that at this depth can result in raptures of the deep, narcosis. At this point,
What about
I was
you?
aware
You
of
ever
the
gone
fact
diving?
that I was hallucinating.
Any of you guys?
I should have started swimming back up immediately, but I couldn't. I had left so much unsaid to my father. He had died in a boating accident a few years before, and I had never really gotten over it. He was just there one moment and gone the next. I never said goodbye. You have certain regrets when someone dies, things left unsaid. I always mulled them over in my mind. I wish I'd said this. Why didn't I tell him that before
No.
I died? And I
I'm too
finally had a
afraid.
chance to tell him those things. To have that goodbye. But I couldn't speak, because of the stupid rebreather in my mouth. I started to rip off my mask and rebreather so I could talk to him, but he grabbed my hand. I yanked against him and tried to pull off my mask, but he wouldn't let me. Frustrated, I screamed into my mask.
It's like shallow
bubbles
water
floating up
though,
around me in a
right? So it's
stream
pretty
up to the
nice.
surface. And then, I felt him pull me into a hug. The kind he used to give me when I was a little kid. And in that instant,
fuck that.
I just knew that he understood.
No middle of the
That
ocean
he
for
knew
me, dude. I've seen
that
too
this
many
was him saying
like.
goodbye.
Yeah,
When the
so I
bubbles
went under the
cleared,
water
he
and I
was
came
gone.
back up and the boat
I
was
swam
gone
back
and
up
I
the
almost
surface,
died out in the
spent a
ocean.
few minutes at my
Fuck
safety
that.
stop and then surfaced.
That's too
I know
scary.
it wasn't real, that it couldn't possibly be real.
Also, just like
Besides,
I
don't
can't
believe in
imagine
ghosts.
looking down and
I know
just
I didn't
seeing
really
like
see my father or my father's
empty
ghost down
blue.
there. It was probably
That's
a
the thing that
manifestation of
fucks
my
me up. Like when I was a kid and I used to go
subconscious
swimming and
desire
I'd
or some shit. I'm
look
not a
down in the bottom of the
psychologist.
pool, I could just
Even
picture like
still,
all kinds
it's
of
hard
sea
for me to not want to
monsters or
believe that it
like
was real in
sharks
some
and
small way.
fish,
That my
but
mind
like
was more
also
open in
the
that state
deep
and he
abyss
reached out.
really
I'm
fucked
not
me
sure
up.
why. I guess it's
Cool
just
though,
that.
but spooky.
It felt like he was
I wouldn't
there.
want to swim after
It
that
felt
too
like
much.
him.
Like I'd
It
stay
felt so
in the pool,
goddamn
but
much
it'd still
like
make
him.
me uncomfortable.
God, I miss him. This
There's a
story
race
is
from an
also
island
one
to
of
the
my
beach.
own.
Like what? Jesus,
It
dude,
happened
really?
in Hawaii during one of my many diving vacations. It's a
Let's
damn
see,
beautiful
I have
place with
some
great
important
weather
work
and
tomorrow.
even greater
Thanks,
views underwater.
big boy.
While I can appreciate the dark,
Appreciate
murky
you.
atmosphere at the
I'll
bottom
post
of
this
the lake,
stuff after
there's
it's done.
definitely something
Have a good
enchanting
sleep.
about
Have a good day at
crystal
work
clear
tomorrow,
water
man.
filled with colorful exotic fish. It's certainly
That's
much
probably
less
one funny
frightening than
stuff,
any of
seeing
my
anything
deep
ever
sea
straight up
dives,
solid. That's
especially the
fucking
ones that
spooky,
involved me
dude.
welding vital components for hours on end with even the smallest mistake having potentially devastating consequences. That, however, does not mean that it was not dangerous. You are always in danger underwater, whether you realize it or
Thanks
not.
for watching, big
It
boy.
is not
Appreciate
your
the
how.
support.
You don't live there. You don't belong there. And most importantly in the water, you are no longer the world's apex predator. You're in a much, much bigger pond. Keep that in mind if you ever go diving yourself, it might just save your life. Even a small thing could kill you. In this case, it was a moray eel. Now morays are known for being vicious. But most people don't know that they're also very intelligent. I like to call them sea demons due to their disturbing combination of cold intellect
Did you win the
and raw
race?
aggression.
That's
If
the
one
real
bites
question. Did you win?
The best way to get it to let go is to cave its skull in.
Did you get top 3, bro?
Otherwise, good luck getting it to let go. That in itself isn't unusual, but when it's paired with an uncanny intellect it gets a little bit scary. This moray in particular was the king demon of all the
Dude,
sea
you know what?
demons.
Still pretty
Not
good in
in
my book. I
size,
would have
he
gotten
was
last.
about average for an elder moray. What placed him above all the others was his pure dickishness. He tried to fucking cut my oxygen lines. I felt something tug at them violently, and I spun around to be face and face with this fucking dickhead. I could just see how fucking smug he was. That stupid fucking face. He knew what he was doing. And I knew that he knew. And he knew that I knew. So I pull out my knife that I keep for defense against sharks and cutting myself free if I ever get loose, and I show it to him.
Bro,
See,
please don't say
look,
4.
It's shiny. If I poke you
Please don't
with
say
it,
out of 4,
you
bro.
die.
Come on.
He knew what that was too. He didn't seem worried, but he backed off a bit. I kept an eye on him the whole way back to shore.
There's a ton of people
I swear
saying
the
at the same
cunt
time, but
performed
they
the
were
moray
like-
equivalent of flipping me off when he finally swam away as I was nearing the shore.
That's pretty good then, if you don't know how
Moral of the
many.
story? Morays are cunts.
She said like
Don't fuck around
5.
with
And
them.
like, bro, come on, man.
Okay, all done with my own personal stories now. This next story
That's really
is
cool, though.
supposedly bona fide
That sounds
taken
sick.
from the journal of a now deceased biologist/researcher.
Were there any
I
prizes,
haven't
or was
seen
it
the
just for
pages of the
fun?
journal myself, but I'm working on getting them sent to me if possible. I'll share them with you if I ever manage to get my hands on them. For now, enjoy an abridged version. Date unspecified. Just heard a sperm whale on the hydrophone. Very unusual for this area and time of year. Frequency a few hertz lower than normal. Possibly a new subspecies? Date unspecified.
Metal
Pod
sounds
is
sick.
upset. Still hearing the sperm whale. Haven't seen Marv today. Hope the old codger is okay. Date unspecified. Pod remains agitated. Second day in a row without a sighting of Marv's scarred old dorsal. Starting to get worried. Date unspecified. Heard Marv on the hydrophone today. Good to know the old man is okay. Date unspecified. Keep hearing Marv on the hydrophone. He sounds distressed. Pod is still agitated. Date unspecified. If this keeps up much longer, I might dive and check up on him. Date unspecified. Pod is extremely agitated. Nudged me back to the surface when I tried to dive. Date unspecified. Illegible. Okay,
You have fun at
I'm
least?
actually back this time. Here's the rest of the journal for those of you who were waiting. Date unspecified. I'm not sure if I should write this down. I feel like I'm losing my mind. What I saw couldn't have been real. Date unspecified. It's killing the salmon. It's not eating them, they just float to the surface to rot. They're refusing to eat the dead salmon. Won't be long before they starve. Date unspecified. Motherfuckers started
That's
singing
good.
again. Date unspecified. I guess I'm going down to try and deal with this thing. I don't think I'm crazy. I'm going to write down what happened on my last dive, in case something goes wrong. I used the hydrophone to roughly triangulate where Marv's calls were coming from. Checked the depth, got my gear ready and dove. The pod kept nudging me back to the surface, but I kept swimming down and eventually they stopped, circling me from a distance and making odd, mournful noises I'd never heard an orca make before. I pressed on, determined to find Marv and get to the bottom of what was happening. Poor bastard. After a certain depth, the pod gave up trying to stop me and circled from above, crying out in their own odd way. I reached the bottom, but couldn't spot Marv immediately. I could hear him, but I couldn't spot his location. It sounded like he was right next to me, even though I couldn't see him. I figured at the time that it was the channel walls bouncing the sound around and continued to search. Eventually, I found him.
I
He
got
was
a-
floating,
I
immobilized
got a guy
and
at
trapped
work
in
who
some
goes
sort of
fishing.
strange translucent
You ever go
substance.
fishing?
He
He's
seemed
done, like,
unresponsive, but I could
A whole
still
bunch of
hear
like
him.
deep
It seemed
sea
impossible he
fishing
could be
too.
alive after so long
Got
underwater.
like pictures in
but
his
he still
office.
seemed to be vocalizing.
Fucking
Took out
huge
my
fish,
knife and
dude.
tried to cut what I assumed at the time to be degraded plastic packaging of some sort. The instant my hand made contact, pain came ripping up my arm and pulsed through my entire body. I saw stars and when I came to, I was floating immobilized next to Marv. I tried moving, but I was completely paralyzed. I don't think I've ever been more scared in my life. Slowly, I felt the tendril that had wrapped around my arm begin to tug me downward. I frantically tried to turn my head and see what was below me, but I couldn't even move my eyes. It continued to tug me down at a snail's pace, turning my body with it. As the seafloor tilted into view, I realized something was horrible wrong. The seafloor
Yeah,
was
dude.
writhing, the sediment
I was
shifting
thinking
and
of
pulsating.
Black
As my view
Hazard.
tilted further
Is that
downward,
Kamen
I saw
Rider
what
build?
the filament was pulling me down towards. Protruding out of the
I haven't
massive
really
writhing
watched any
sand was
Kamen
what
Rider,
I
but I
can
know
only
Black
describe
Hazard's
as a
super
massive
cool.
sea anemone of some sort, with bulbous
Yeah,
protruding
sick.
growth reaching up from the seafloor towards
I-
me. And inch by inch,
I'm gonna
I
dox
was being
myself here.
dragged
I
towards
also
it.
live in the
I couldn't
desert,
scream.
although I
couldn't
think we're in the
cry.
same
I
boat where
couldn't
we're
even close my
near.
eyes. All I could do is watch as this thing
water.
reeled me in like a fish. The fucker took
But
its
the guy
time.
was like fishing in
Either it was slow
Alaska
or it liked its food well
uh,
marinated in
in
fear.
some trips, and
I'm
like
sure there's
I think
worse ways to
nearby
die, but this is
and
probably
in
pretty high
some
up there.
lakes and
I was
stuff.
pulled in, inch by inch until it grasped me. I can still remember the sensation. Thousands of feelers pinching
Thanks for
my arms
watching,
and face,
Tyler.
rough like sandpaper, pulling me further
Is that
in.
how you read your name?
I still couldn't move, but inside my head I was screaming. The mass pulled
That's
me
true, there are a
further
lot
in
of
with a
deserts to
rippling
live in.
motion, each pulse pulling me farther and farther down. I think I accepted that I was dead somewhere around the time my head was completely pulled into the mass. All I could hear was the rough rasping of the thing as it rubbed against my mask, pulling me deeper into itself. I'm not sure if I blacked out or went catatonic after that, but when I came to I was floating freely in a cloud of murky sediment. All around me were the same bulbous, writhing feelers that had pulled me in, but disconnected and squirming alone, directionless. I took a second to orient myself and calm down, when something brushed
Probably
past
should
me
have
in
just
the water.
colored these in
If
instead
I
of the weird
wasn't still
striations.
paralyzed, I
There's
would have
enough
shit myself.
surface area where I
It
didn't
came
have to worry
again,
about that.
a massive dark silhouette shooting through the water just above the sea floor. In its wake, I could see thousands of the strange bulbous feelers being pulled up off the seabed. That's when I heard it. The familiar, lovely call. It was Shay, and I quickly began to see several other familiar shapes as the rest of the pod joined her. They shot
I
through the
wonder
dark
if
like
Koopa
torpedoes,
likes those, like,
making an odd clicking
in the woods
vocalization that
skinwalker
I've never heard
stories.
before. Strange filaments like
Bros,
the
what
one
if
that had
Koopa
grabbed
is the
me and Mark
skinwalker?
trailed upwards from the mass, but the whales gracefully ducked between them and continued to skim the ocean floor, kicking up clouds of sediment and thousands of individual fillers. Eventually, I felt Shay and several of the others nudging me towards the surface. They even gave me time to decompress
I have
before
a
pushing me up to the
Common
surface.
Rider figure
It
that
took
my
about
brother
an hour
got
of
me
sitting on
from
the surface,
Japan.
Shay gently nudging
Like,
me and clicking in what I assumed was
long time
concern
ago.
before
It's
I
like a
finally
cheap, like,
regained enough
$3 one
mobility to
too.
climb back into my boat.
But the
old
guy
girl
was
seemed
cool.
pretty excited when I
And I remember I
finally
looked
managed to
up
flop
which one it
inside.
was, and it's like,
I guess whatever was
forgot
down
what it
there
was,
didn't
but he was really cool.
appreciate having its lunch
I still
stolen,
have it, I
so now
think,
it seems to
somewhere
be killing the
in a
salmon.
box.
I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I'll be damned if I let them starve. That was the last entry in the journal, and the writer is apparently missing/deceased. Still trying to see if I can actually get my hands on the journal itself or some pictures of it, but the owner is a very odd person and is being uncooperative at the moment. I'm
Is
going to leave for a bit and maybe
Common
come back
Rider
with some more
build
stories later.
Does that one also have,
Back again.
what is it, Arc
This is
1,
another
Arc
story
0?
from Frank. If you remember
It's like
him from
another
one of the
Berserk-
earlier deep sea threads I
Berserker
posted.
type?
In case
Kamen
you were in
Rider?
those threads,
Or is that-
Frank was my diving instructor.
Is that a different
Absolute
one?
legend, been around a while and seen lots of strange shit. He never told me exactly where/when this took place. It's kind of irrelevant in any case. He was taking a group of new diver
Yeah, that one's
trainees
really
out
cool
on
too.
a
I like
dive
any
for their
kind of, like,
certification. Usually they
Berserk
start you out in shallow
transformation
water. After a
a
few
lot.
dives they take you out somewhere deeper. Frank goes out into the ocean a ways to get you used to the sensation of being underwater and being unable to see the bottom. It's an important thing to get used to if you're a diver. There's lots of places where the shelf will become a sheer drop-off for potentially hundreds of meters straight down into nothing but abyss. If you're not used to
What about you, Tyler?
just
Do you have
seeing
any
it can
art
induce
requests for
panic and
Koopa?
terror in certain people. The deep does that to certain people, and I would recommend not becoming a diver if you have some sort of phobia or fear of deep water. Facing
I'll have to
your
look up
fears
that
is great
metal
and all,
cluster hopper
but
thing.
having
That
a
sounds
panic
pretty
attack
sick.
while you are 40 meters underwater is a bad idea. Frank said, and people who got panicked/scared of deep open water were pretty common. Hell, I got pretty scared my first time. But he says there's another reaction he's seen. He's only seen it once, but he's heard of it from other diving instructors. The only way he could describe it is the call of the deep. They dropped into the water off the boat, and Frank could immediately tell something was off. This kid hung back from the group, staring down into the water. Frank tried to pull him back, but he shook off his arm and started swimming away. Straight down.
Oh yeah,
Frank
is the
waited a
volume
second,
okay?
Then started after
Or
him.
Does the
He
story
caught up
need to
at
be
about 30
louder?
meters and grabbed his leg. The kid looked back at him and smiled, then pushed away and continued going straight down. Frank followed him for a bit and tried to stop him again, but the guy just kept going further and further down. Eventually, Frank had to stop and let him go or risk dying himself. To this day, Frank says it is the most unnerving shit he's ever seen. What could possibly compel a man to just swim straight down into the ocean? What did he think awaited him down there? The kid's body was never found. The parents sued Frank, but he was exonerated by the testimony of the other trainees who backed up his claims. Police chalked it up
maybe,
to
yeah.
the kid being suicidal, but I'm
I'll have to
pretty
look
sure
up the
there's a long
post.
list of better ways to kill yourself. And like I said, this isn't an
You know, I'm gonna be
isolated
honest.
incident.
I thought when
No
she
cause
like
or motivation has ever
did
been
the first
determined,
reveal for the
and
boots,
reason
I was
for
like, oh,
why
is this a
these
wrestler
people swim to their
outfit?
deaths
But everyone's like,
remains
oh, it's a
mystery.
Sentai Kamen
Okay,
Rider
time
outfit.
for a
And I was
repost.
like, oh,
This is the
that
first
makes a lot of
story I
sense.
posted on here.
But
Figured
because of
some
like the
man in this
Chuba
thread
battle
might have
tournament,
missed
I was
it.
like, dude, what if it's a wrestler
I was doing
outfit?
a
That'd be
recovery
sick.
dive in a local lake for the police.
Although I do
Some
like
idiot
the
kid who
idea of
hadn't
like
worn his life jacket
transform,
while drinking on a party
Henshin,
boat.
Power Ranger,
It was
Kamen
deep
Rider
enough
thing
to
is
require
pretty
mixed
cool.
gas to avoid narcosis. I was following all the normal protocols, keeping in contact with my diving partner, watching my dive computer. It doesn't take long to get to the bottom. getting back up always takes much longer. Me and my partner split up to cover more ground because visibility was extremely low. It must have been about 5 minutes before I saw it. There was a human silhouette standing upright at the bottom of the lake. I swam closer and found a man, perfectly preserved without a sign of decay on his body. He was buried in silt up to his shins. It really looked like he could still be alive, or had only been dropped into the water a few moments ago. I tied a line to him and started to head back up to the surface so I could get the boat team to haul up the body. So I swim up, letting the line play out behind me until I reach my first safety stop. While I'm waiting for my body to decompress so I can head further up, I notice that the spool of line is still being pulled out even though I've stopped. It's completely taut and rolling out straight down at a blistering speed. It takes me about half a second to realize that my reel is about to run out and I'm about to be sucked down by the line. There's a good 900 plus feet on my line, and the speed it was being reeled out was so tremendous that as soon as I tried to grab it, my hand was split almost completely open to the bone. In retrospect, that was a dumb thing to do, but it was just basic instinct to grab the rope and try to cut it with my knife. I get a sudden IQ boost and instead cut the straps holding the reel to my suit a few seconds before the line runs out and it vanishes into the murky water within about half a second. I feel as if the force of the whiplash alone would have been strong enough to break my back and kill me if I hadn't cut the straps. I'm pretty shaken at this point, more shaken than I've been since I found my first dead kid. But still I managed to ascend slowly and take my safety spots despite the pain, fear and of course all the blood leaking out of my hand. Good thing this was a freshwater dive, or I might have been in real trouble on my way up. Anyway, my knee-jerk reaction and what everyone else told me was that it was narcosis-fueled hallucinations. Divers see all sorts of shit when narcosis kicks in. I've heard stories of fish and squid with human faces, some guy swears he was face-to-face with Cthulhu. My point is, narcosis is to an extent like temporarily being on DMT, and it can make you see some absolutely crazy shit. The thing I can't make sense of is how I got the cut on my hand. It's clearly from a rope. It's not clean enough to be from my knife or any other sharp object. The doctor even noted that I had friction burns all surrounding the cut. So what the fuck caused the cut if I was hallucinating? And if I wasn't hallucinating, what the fuck could drag out a line that fast? What really keeps me up at night is that the guy was resting on the bottom of the lake, and my line was going straight down. So either he was pulled through the bottom of the lake, or something with incredible strength and speed grabbed my rope and was reeling me in like a fish. I'm not sure which is worse. Hello again friends, and welcome to the first weekly edition of this thread. Every Friday night I'll be posting a bunch of more stories, feel free to add some of your own. For anyone out there who liked the stories from my old friend Frank, you're in for a treat. I visited him yesterday and got him to spin me a few new yarns that I think you guys will love. This story is one of his, from back before he left commercial diving to be an instructor. Frank was doing a fairly normal job, basic rig inspection on a jack-up rig, inspecting the gears and pinions before they moved to the next drill site. The depth was on the extreme end for a jack-up rig, just under 600 feet. I say this is extreme for a jack-up rig, but that's because it's a portable rig with legs that sit on the bottom of the seafloor, so it can't drill as deep as a floating rig. As Frank was doing the inspection, he felt something like a long rope brush the top of his head. He twisted around and saw what he describes as the biggest squid he's ever seen in his life, floating aimlessly in the current. The body was massive with ears near its head and nearly a dozen long, thin tentacles that stretched down so far you lost sight of them in the gloom. Frank stared at it a bit, both in awe and fear. I did some research and he was never in any danger. This particular type of squid is likely passive and uses its long tentacles to feed on plankton. One thing that is odd is the depth at which this squid was at. Bigfin squid are normally found at much lower depths. Frank watched the squid for a few minutes as it floated nearby, then turned back to his inspection. After a few minutes he looked back and it was gone. He looked all around but he couldn't find a trace of it. That species of squid are rarely seen and little is known of them, but they have never been observed to move at high speeds. You might want to sit out this next one if you have a combined phobia of the deep sea and spiders. Now, spiders aren't the sort of thing you think that you'd encounter in the ocean. I know there are aquatic spider species, but those usually are very small and live in ponds. Spiders aren't something you'd think to see at, say, the bottom of the ocean. Well, I'm here to inform you that sea spiders absolutely do exist. They're mostly harmless, but then again so are most land spiders. They're long, gangly things that are all legs with two grasping arms and a proboscis for sucking up their prey's insides. Not supposed to get any bigger than about 2 feet diameter. And I say not supposed to
Yo,
because
fuck
lots of
roaches.
strange
My
things
homies
seem to
hate
happen at the
roaches.
bottom of the ocean. Our intrepid diver in this story was after some sunken treasure and had just dove to investigate what he hoped was an undiscovered wreck that he'd spotted on sonar. He descended to the bottom, but to his dismay, the wreck was simply a strange rock formation on the bottom. Disappointed, he prepared to ascend. Just as he checked his dive computer, he noticed something out of the corner of his eye, a massive wall of sand approaching from behind him. Underwater sandstorms aren't anything unusual, they're just like sandstorms above water except significantly more wet. It's just currents stirring up sediments and throwing them around. Our friend managed to grab onto a rock and hold his position steady as the current slowly faded, leaving only murky waters filled with sediment. Letting go of the rock, he turned upward and came face to face with a large barracuda impaled on the end of a long transparent tube. The tube stretched up and vanished into the murk, visibility was below 10 feet. Now the diver was getting spooked, so he went back down to the bottom and swam along the ocean floor for a while to bypass whatever had skewered the fish. That's when he nearly ran face first into its leg. According to his description, the leg was skinny proportionately but still about 1/4 foot in diameter, and it stretched up into the murk beyond above him. He stared up at it for a few seconds, then it began to ever so slowly move, gripping the ocean floor as it moved the rest of the mass that must have hung suspended above, hidden in the murk. The thing moving spooked our friendly treasure hunter enough for him to probably break a couple Olympic records in his mad dash/swim to safety. Fortunately, he retained enough sense to wait at his safety stops, though
Yo,
I can
go
hardly blame him
fucking
for
get
being
those
scared
natty
after seeing a
gains,
giant
bro. You
underwater
fucking
spider.
do it.
This
Thanks for
next
coming to
story
the
is one of
stream.
mine.
Really
It's
appreciate
a bit
you.
mundane, as far as the stories
You
in
have a
these
good
threads
one,
usually go.
my guy.
Nothing supernatural or unknown
Go
at
get
all.
those
Just a
fucking
normal
gains,
dive with
dude.
some normal sea life.
Go
You
get
might
shredded.
have noticed the fish that got so unfortunately skewered by a giant sea spider in my last story was a barracuda. And you guessed it, this story is about barracuda. They have a really bad reputation, which granted is somewhat warranted. They can get big, around 7 feet long. They have a mouthful of giant razor-sharp teeth that can shred through flesh like knives, and they have a tendency to hunt in massive packs. Oh, and there are all sorts of stories of people getting mauled by them. The truth is, barracuda have been somewhat maligned by the media and rumor mill. They rarely attack humans. Most cases of attacks are due to the fish mistaking a shiny dangling object like a necklace or bracelet for food, or spear fishermen trying to wrestle their catch away from an uncooperative fish. Of course, those are all the rationalizations I was running through my head when a pack of 6-foot-long barracuda began shadowing me on a nighttime dive. Why was I diving at night, you might ask? Why the fuck would any sane man do that? I don't have an answer to that question, other than that I think anyone who has ever dove to the bottom of the ocean as part of their job is probably a little bit crazy. I spotted their eyes first with my flashlight, silver gleaming dots in the distance. I immediately switched off my light and went dark for a bit, hoping they wouldn't notice me. Because the last thing you want when you are swimming alone deep in the ocean late at night is to get noticed by a pack of large predatory fish. After a few minutes I turned on my light again and almost shit myself when I saw the very big eye and the also very big teeth of one of the barracuda right next to me. And yeah, they're not supposed to hunt humans. But that didn't make me feel any better. These things were big, mean as hell looking killing machines. And if they decided that I was lunch for whatever reason, I would be lunch. There's no getting away from a pack of 6 feet silver torpedoes with razor-sharp teeth. So I very slowly and carefully turned around and headed back up, having decided I'd seen enough of the ocean for that night. My escorts tagged along, all 8 of them. They never harmed me, and I'm not sure why they were following me. Could have been pure curiosity. I've had lots of fish swim by to check out my light when I'm diving/welding underwater. Not really the typical story I post here, but it was a very spooky experience for me, to be followed by these very large deep-sea predators.
Dude, I should fucking lift like Mala.
This next story isn't from a diver.
I'm technically
rather a
like,
guy
I think
who was
1 or
working
2
on one
pounds
of those big
overweight,
cruise vacation
going
ships.
off of like some
It was the
random
tail
site I
end of the
found.
trip, and most of the
'Cause I have a
passengers were either
nice
drinking or
office
asleep.
job.
This guy was
Although
a cook and had
I
finished his
do
shift. He was
lift
just relaxing on deck and watching the glowing
stuff a
dolphins
lot
swimming
and
through
run
the
up and
water beside the
downstairs a
ship.
lot.
If that threw you for a
I wanna
loop,
get
there's this
shredded.
type of plankton that glows when it moves, creating this mesmerizing glow around any moving objects nearby. It's cool as fuck, and I would highly recommend anyone interested in the sea take a vacation to a place that has glowing beaches. It's cool as fuck and also very romantic. Explanation aside, our intrepid cook was sitting out on the railing, watching the dolphins leave glowing trails through the water beside the boat. It's the sort of thing that
Gotta
makes
get
working at sea
fucking
worth all
swole,
the
bro.
boredom and
Gotta get
loneliness worth it.
jacked.
Unfortunately, after a few minutes, the dolphins left and the chef was left alone with his thoughts. which is when he noticed that there was now something else swimming alongside the boat. Whatever it was big. He couldn't see the shape too clearly because
Although
it
I
was
do
a fair
like
ways
sweets a
below the
lot,
surface,
that's the big
but the
problem.
glowing plankton gave him a rough view of the outline. He described it as long, serpentine in shape and at least 100 feet long if not longer. He watched it follow the ship for a ways before it dove further down out of sight. Continuing on with the themes of lights underwater, I have another story from the same cook. There's not much to this one, but I think it's still interesting. He claimed to have seen on multiple occasions, inexplicable glowing light coming from below the ocean. Different colors, sometimes glowing red, green or yellow. He described it as something completely different from the glowing plankton. The lights would appear and disappear, sometimes they would blink or flash. Some of them would remain in place, others would follow the ship or move in erratic patterns. Once he got close enough to get a better look and saw a glowing orb floating just above the ocean's surface which then shot away from the boat at extremely high speeds. I've heard of similar things from lots of sailors and I've never heard of a satisfactory scientific explanation. So much about the sea, even on the surface, still remains unknown. Last story for now before I have to leave for a bit. This is another one from Frank, and it's a good one. During his time as a commercial diver on the West Coast, Frank made a friend. And with friends like this, who needs enemies? Frank first met his friend while doing a basic maintenance checkup on the local marina. He was checking on the moorings to make sure they were in good condition when he noticed something strange. One of the mooring chains appeared to be sticking straight out of a large rock on the ocean floor. Frank moved in to take a look, and sure enough the chain was somehow embedded in this rock. Perplexed, Frank felt around where the chain entered the rock and noticed something even stranger. The rock felt distinctly unlike a rock. In fact, it felt very softy and squishy. And it was looking at him. The color of the rock suddenly flashed to white and then the entire thing vanished in a cloud of dark ink. You might have guessed it at this point, but Frank's friend is a Pacific giant octopus. They can weigh around 600 pounds and if measured from tentacle to tentacle can grow to over 30 feet in diameter. They also have the ability to change the color of every cell in their body, allowing them to mimic nearly any object on the sea floor. They're big, next to invisible and can be very, very smart. So it was fortunate for Frank that this particular octopus, who he named Frederick, was just a prankster and not a serial killer. Like some reports of giant octopus I've heard. Over the next few months, Frank would encounter Frederick on various dives, imitating some strange object, flashing white upon being discovered and swimming away in a cloud of ink. After a while Frank simply assumed that anything strange he saw was just Frederick playing a prank on him and ignore him, which would lead to Frederick tickling the back of his head while he wasn't looking or playing with the valves on his equipment. After being ignored one too many times, Frederick turned off Frank's oxygen regulator briefly before turning it back on. After that,
We'll do the full
Frank
body
made
cast
sure
on this
not
page,
to ignore him and would occasionally
and
bring
then
toys
move
or
on
things down from
to
the surface for him to play with.
I think that one will
This
fit
odd
in this corner
relationship
over
continued
here.
for most of the year until about January,
Oh, you know what I can
where
do?
Frederick disappeared for several weeks. Frank said that he was relieved, but I think he worried about what had happened to his friend. Frank eventually found him at the same marina he had first seen him, wrapped around the chain and disguised as a rock. His skills of disguise seemed to have gotten dull, as the rock looked distinctly unrock-like and was covered in strange white spots. Frank waved hello, his customary greeting to Frederick, and after a pause, Frederick waved back. He flashed white briefly, then changed back into the color of a rock. Frank hung around for a while, but Frederick didn't seem to be interested in playing hide-and-seek or any other games, so he went back to his inspection. After a week of half expecting to spot Frederick somewhere on one of his dives, Frank returned to the marina. Frederick was still there, wrapped around the chain. He was no longer disguised as a rock, and his skin was a bright red mottled with white spots.
I'd let her beat me up.
Flashed
That's
white
for
and
sure.
then turned back red. Frank had brought some fish with him, but
I'd let her beat me up
refused to
even if
leave
she
or move,
wasn't
staying anchored around the mooring chain.
Common
Frank
Rider.
came
I'd let her
back the
beat me
next
up
day
if she
with a
saw me
lobster,
on the
which was
street.
apparently
Take my
Frederick's
lunch money.
favorite food. He was still there,
'Cause I'm weak.
hugging the mooring chain. He refused to eat the lobster and didn't wave to Frank or flash white like he usually did. The next day, he was gone. Frank came back once a week for the next month before finally giving up on seeing him there again. Sometimes still, Frank will inspect strange rocks or objects he sees underwater, in hopes of seeing Frederick one last time. You can find lots of things at the bottom of the ocean. A friend isn't usually one of them. That's so crazy. Did Fred die? Or was he dying and then went somewhere to die? Wow. Imagine this being living there, self-aware, wondering why it has this amazing intelligence, observing life, seeing a human being, playing tricks, etc. And then finally, saying goodbye. I don't know anything about this stuff, but it turning red etc. sounds
guys
like he
can
was
hear
dying
that.
and losing control over his body. This story is so sad.
Octopus typically die soon after they mate. The females remain alive long enough for them to go out the eggs, but males develop a form of dementia and stop eating right after mating is over.
Yeah, man.
Their body basically self-destructs and consumes itself for energy until death occurs.
Giant Pacific octopuses are similparous. They breed once before death. After reproduction, they enter a stage called senescence, which involves obvious changes in behavior and appearance, including a reduced appetite, retraction of skin around the eyes giving them a more pronounced appearance, increased activity in uncoordinated patterns, and white lesions all over the body. While the duration of this stage is variable, it typically lasts about 1 to 2 months.
Gotta
Death
make sure
is
we give her
typically
the boo-boo.
attributed to starvation, as the females stop hunting and instead protect their eggs. Males often spend more time in the open, making them more likely to be preyed upon. Fred became a dad.
F.
Have sex. Die. Would you Anons do it?
Okay, I'm back. Got 2 more stories for those of you still hanging around. These are from the same treasure hunter guy who told me the story about the giant sea spider. He was deep out at sea, scanning the seafloor in an area known for shipwrecks to see if he could find anything. He'd been doing it for most of the day with no success. He turned away from the screen for a second to look at something else, and looked back barely in time to catch the tail end of an absolutely massive blip on the sonar disappearing from the scan radius. Never got an exact measurement out of him, but it was too big and too fast to be a whale. Right after this, he hears something strange coming from the ship's starboard side, and looks up to see a massive rogue wave bearing down on his boat. He barely had enough time to turn into it and avoid being capsized, and a bunch of his stuff got soaked or washed overboard. Apparently the sea was completely calm, barely a cloud in the sky and no wind at all. Last one for this week, but I saved one of the best for last. Again, this story comes from our intrepid treasure hunter. I'm going to call him Carl from now on just to make writing these a bit easier on myself. Carl was a week into his 2-week treasure hunting voyage/vacation. So far, he'd had little success and today wasn't any better. It was getting near lunch and so far all he'd done is sit around drinking beer and watching his sonar. Finally, he spots something that piques his interest. A long, pole-shaped object jutting out of the ocean floor and propped against some sort of large rock outcrop. More often than not, Carl says that stuff like this on sonar ends up being just an old waterlogged tree that's sunk to the bottom. But there's always the chance that it's the mast of a long-sunk ship that was shattered by undersea currents, its treasures and artifacts spread along the sea floor. Hoping for a much-needed win, Carl prepped his gear and dove. The descent was uneventful, visibility good, and he was able to spot the wreck from a good distance away. He became more and more convinced that it was a wreck the closer he got, and his excitement grew. Finally reaching the spot, he discovered that the beam was in fact jutting out of the rock rather than leaning against it. The rock was weathered and covered in dead coral and barnacles along with the mast, but the shape was distinctly similar to the hull of a large ship. An intact hull means intact treasure, and Carl eagerly began to search for an entry point so he could investigate the interior. After a few minutes of searching, he couldn't find a single hole or break in the coral-encrusted exterior of the wreck. Which is a bit odd, given that the ship had sank. Carl almost gave up hope, until he came across something extremely strange. There was a door, perfectly preserved, sitting embedded in the side of the hull. Carl's first instinct was to open it, but out of nowhere every single one of his instincts started screaming alarm bells at him. He hadn't seen a single fish or sign of life on or near the wreck. The wreck was too old for there to be a perfectly preserved modern door complete with unrusted brass handle in the side of the hull. He pulled back and took another, closer look at the wreck, as a heavy sense of dread began to overtake him. He found a patch of the mast where the coral crust had fallen away and revealed the true surface. After knocking on it a few times, Carl realized that the mast wasn't made out of wood, it was stone. If the entire wreck was petrified, it was very, very old. Much too old to make any sense. And much too old for there to be a completely preserved modern door in the side of the hull. Who the hell puts a door in the side of their ship's hull anyway? The sense of dread Carl was fearing became overpowering. Every single one of his senses was screaming at him that he shouldn't be here, that he didn't belong. That
I'll
something was
be
very,
right back. I'm
very
gonna go
wrong. But
grab
there
a
was no
snack,
way he would
some
just
water.
come all the way out here,
Enjoy
make
the green
discovery
text.
of a lifetime and just leave. So he swallowed his fear and headed back towards the door. He wasn't going to let nerves take what was possibly one of the greatest archaeological discoveries of the century away from him. As he swam around the hole to the section containing the door, the fear intensified until, as he described, it felt like I was having a complete mental breakdown. Still though, he pushed through his fear and towards the door. As it came into sight, he noticed something was wrong. The door was ajar, and slowly opening from the inside. Carl sat there for what must have been a few full seconds, watching the door open, his entire body screaming at him to run. That was when he felt something else. Something watching him, from inside the door. Something that Carl could only describe as pure, unthinkable evil. Carl made a mad dash for the surface, hyperventilating and screaming into his mask, not daring to look back as he could feel a presence following behind him, watching with hungry eyes. He shot straight to the surface without any safety stops, flopped onto his boat, headed it back towards land at full speed and managed to call the Coast Guard for help, despite being racked with pain from decompression sickness. He was picked up off his ship in a helicopter and flown to the nearest decompression chamber. Thanks to the quick rescue, Carl survived, albeit with permanent joint damage and some paralysis in his left leg that put an end to his treasure hunting career. He refused to share the location of the wreck with me. Some things on the bottom of the ocean aren't meant to be found.
Okay, I'm back.
I'm going to begin tonight with one of my own stories that I haven't told yet. We're also going to try and investigate the phenomenon I witnessed, which has been corroborated and seen by many other commercial and hobby divers. If you've been diving a lot or spend a lot of time around divers, you might have already guessed what I'm talking about. Black divers, one of the most persistent and unnerving legends that has plagued diving since the time of giant metal bell helmets. We'll dig into possible causes and explanations for this phenomena after I've written up my own encounter with them. This story comes from early in my time as a commercial diver on the Hibernia rig. The rig is the biggest in the world and is absolutely massive. Basically a small city jutting out of the sea floor. The entire thing is on top of a massive concrete platform settled on the bottom of the ocean that's also used to store barrels of crude. Even back when I was doing this, safety regulations were very important. Unlike most of my other jobs where I mostly inspect/repair the integrity of the structures themselves, I was checking the oil storage itself to ensure it was safe, secure and not leaking out of containment. It was good work, steady work inspecting the site nearly every day, and it paid well. Usually I worked with a group of 2 other divers. The day this happened was like pretty much any other. The weather was shit, the onboard chef's omelette was delicious and the rig workers were assholes. Nothing new. Began the dive. Reached my target and began the inspection of lids, seams, and taking water samples as well to ensure no minute particulate leakage. After a few minutes, I get a feeling on the back of my neck that I'm being watched. I turn around to see one of my partners floating a distance away from me, watching me work. I wave at him and give the okay sign to signify that I am okay, and he returned it. I wasn't sure why he was watching me instead of doing his own work, but I really didn't give much of a shit. I had a feeling in my gut though, that something wasn't right. I mulled it over in my mind while I worked. Something about him had seemed off, but I had no idea what it was. So I turned around again after a bit and sure enough he was still there, watching me. I waved to him and made the okay hand sign, and again, he returned it. Something about the way he did it made me feel disgusted and repulsed. The fingers looked wrong. If that makes any sense. I don't remember enough detail to describe exactly how they moved incorrectly, but I felt a distinct uncanny valley level repulsion upon seeing it. I was looking at something very, very wrong. My gut instinct was screaming at me that this guy was dangerous. That's when I realized what had actually been bugging me initially. The guy didn't have any bubbles coming out of his regulator. Oh shit, this guy has a regulator. My diving partner has a rebreather. This isn't my diving partner. Wait, oh shit, how the fuck can this guy be giving off 0 bubbles without a rebreather? Here's where I need to explain a bit of technical stuff for the non-initiated. Regulators are those typical scuba masks you see. You breath in air from them, and exhale into the sea. Rebreathers are much bulkier and they recycle the air you're exhaling and reuse it so that you get more bang for your buck. Better for longer/deeper dives than a regulator. Regulators make bubbles, rebreathers don't. Like I said, all our guys on the rig used rebreathers. It was company policy and it was just full stop the best option. This diver was using a regulator and on top of that he wasn't making any bubbles. Which is just screaming all kinds of wrong. I stare at him for a second as he just floats there, staring back at me through the gloomy water. My stupid search and rescue/recovery instincts kick in and I assume this diver is having an emergency malfunction with his rebreather and cannot breathe and is possible already unconscious or dead. So I try and stuff down the blaring warning signs in my gut and swim over to him as quickly as I can. The warning signs in my gut get worse the closer I get. There's just something about this guy that is wrong, somehow. I can't describe it in any other way than that I knew instinctively that he should not exist. That he was wrong. My gut finally got the better of me just as I reached to pull off his broken regulator so we could share my rebreather on our way up. I stopped my hand a few inches away from the mask, and I felt an intense jolt of fear staring down into his mask. There was nothing behind his mask. It was completely empty. No eyes, no face, no skull, no corpse, nothing. Just empty blackness. I reached out with my hand and touched the top of his head. His wetsuit hood squished inwards as I pushed, deforming the shape of his head. That's when it moved. The thing turned its mask up towards my face, raising its hand and making the OK sign again. My body was in full fight or flight mode at this point, and though I'm no pussy, spooky phantom divers are pretty far past my limits of what I'm willing to fight. So I swam the fuck away, putting a decent distance between us before I dared to look back. When I turned to look, I saw the diver floating backwards into the current, leaking black oil or blood or something from his mask, arms and legs. It wasn't long before he was hidden entirely behind a black cloud, vanishing into the murky sea. I went back up to the surface as quickly as humanly possible, assuming that I had a bad mix of gas or a malfunctioning rebreather causing narcosis. The maintenance crews never found anything wrong with my gear, though that doesn't rule out the possibilities of narcosis hallucinations.
Man, it sounds like you encountered some highly capable squid. I reached out with my hand and touched the top of his head. His wetsuit had squished inwards as I pushed, deforming the shape of his head. When I turned to look, I saw the diver floating backwards into the current, leaking black oil or blood or something from his mask, arms and legs. It wasn't long before he was hidden entirely behind a black cloud, vanishing into the murky sea. Yee. It definitely is some kind of squid that is either friendly/interested in humans enough to imitate something that doesn't signify danger, as opposed to what would happen if you saw a human-sized squid just staring at you. Some of them are not only insanely intelligent, but have literal active camouflage and can change their entire texture.
So as promised, a bit of analysis/insight into this particular phenomenon. There's a couple different names for them. Phantom divers, ghost divers, black divers. The stories aren't all the same. There's two basic types of phantom diver encounters. The ones with a body, and the ones without. Some people report seeing a corpse/skeleton face behind the mask, others saw what I saw, which is a seemingly empty black void with nothing inside except water. The common thread shared through most stories is the lack of bubbles, and the black blood/mist emitted by the phantom diver. Not all stories have the black mist, but the majority do. There's a couple possibilities for this. It could be an actual supernatural phenomenon. Weird shit happens in the ocean. Divers die all the time. Could the ocean have some sort of property that traps the souls of those who die there, dooming them to float aimlessly on currents as ghostly phantoms? I won't outright rule it out, because weird shit happens in the ocean. I've seen stuff defies explanation time and time again. It could also be what I like to call a mind virus. You see it a lot amongst the DMT/psychedelics community. The drugs are a window into your subconscious thought process. So if you go in with certain expectations or knowledge, even if you don't realize you are, it will affect your experience. It's possible that people see phantom divers because they've heard stories about them, and it's something their subconscious mind jumps to when it experiences narcosis hallucinations. Which would mean that by spreading these stories, I am in fact contributing to the spread of this idea. The last possibility is very much related to the next story I have for you. I'll save it for after I have typed it up.
Describe how the fingers were wrong.
It happened quite a while ago and my memory is far from perfect. If I said that I remembered the exact detail of what made the fingers wrong, I'd be lying. There was something about the way they moved when he made the hand signal. It was like someone had studied exactly how a human hand functions without ever having a hand or using it. And so there was just something missing in translation, an innate humanity in the gesture that was completely absent. This next story was written by the same old biologist who allegedly had a deep sea ROV he was operating eaten by the black carpet back in one of the first threads I posted on here. One of the biggest questions we face as a species is the question of sentience. What makes us sentient? What allows us to exist, consciously? Self-aware? Why do we exist? That's what fuels our search for other life, out there in the stars. But I would posit that we are searching in exactly the wrong direction. The effort, time and resources to reach the stars are vast, and our chances of discovering any life, let alone intelligence, sapient, sentient life are astronomically small. That isn't to say that we shouldn't explore the stars, only that we should finish exploring our own planet first. 80% of the Earth's oceans are unmapped, unseen, unexplored. Dark chasms of unknown depths never seen by human eyes, teeming with undiscovered species and wonders. What are the chances that some undiscovered form of intelligent life exists, somewhere in those unfathomable depths? Very, very likely. In fact, I am nearly certain that it does exist. I've seen the evidence with my own 2 eyes. It was another voyage, chasing after that profane and accursed siphonophore. The blasted thing has ruined my academic credibility and resisted my best efforts to record, observe or prove its existence. I have not given up the search, but I grow more discouraged every year my prize eludes me. Even so, I saw something on this dive perhaps even more shocking, intriguing and abominable than that even the titanic black carpet of creeping flesh that lies at the deepest depths of the abyss. One of my remote hydrophones had picked up a sound unlike any I've ever heard in the ocean. I was entirely convinced that the colossal siphonophore himself was in the vicinity, and pushed ahead at flank speed towards the site, hoping to dive before the bastard could move on and vanish into the depths again. After agonizing hours spent staring at the horizon, willing my boat to crash faster through dark and unforgiving seas, I arrived at the location of my hydrophone. The dive took place mere minutes after my arrival, as I intended to waste as little time as possible and had gotten fully suited and prepared while my destination was yet an hour distant. As swiftly as I had arrived, still swifter I dove to the bottom, some 700 feet beneath the curling whitecaps and seething foam.
Sorry, give me 1
My
second.
flashlight was the only illumination in the inky darkness, playing upon the innumerable tiny flotsam particles and microscopic plankton floating upwards on unseen current from still greater depths. As I dove, it became quickly apparent that several large barracuda shadowed my descent, each specimen measuring nearly 8 feet in length. These inquisitive creatures are quite harmless to humans, despite what deceitful Luciferian hysteriatic media psychopaths might try to tell you. I felt no fear at witnessing these noble wolves of the sea, and instead welcomed their company. To my immense disappointment, 2 of the creatures vanished in pursuit of a large blue tuna, leaving me with only a singular companion as I plunged headfirst deeper into the abyss. Eventually, he too left me. I was alone with my thoughts for what seemed an eternity. Ever so slowly, the ocean floor came into view through the murky dark was. I beheld a greater underwater plateau, perched at the edge of a steep plunge into even greater depths. A swift shadow shot out of the gloom at the plateau's edge in the corner of my vision, and I whirled to face the new danger. To my great relief and surprise, the silhouette belonged to none other than an exquisite bottlenose. The dolphin swam triumphant arcs round me, squeal chittering in his strange language in obvious delight to himself for having found a friendly light in such dark depths. Despite the affections and welcome from my new friend, I urgently
Okay,
pressed
I'm back
downward
now.
to the floor of the plateau with
I don't
my
know what my dog
companion
was
in tow.
barking at.
I imagined at that
Probably
moment that
just
he
like
must
the
have been
neighbors or
following out of
something,
sheer
or
curiosity.
the car passing by.
What was this land ape doing alone at such a depth during the night? This land ape was on the hunt for big game. The biggest game ever to walk the ocean floor, perhaps. But I was not destined to find my old bane the colossal siphonophore today. For upon reaching the plateau floor I quickly noticed strange unnatural shaping amongst the rock and coral. Sections worn and carved by water but seemingly with intent, purpose and craftsmanship. Strange groove lines ran in circles on the stone seabed, each pattern similar and yet distinct. Astonished, I began to photograph and record as much of this incredible phenomenon as I could, taking video and photo in great detail of the structures. After my manic enthusiasm had waned somewhat, I turned to look for my bottlenosed companion.
No.
I found him sitting
Scared
only
the
a
shit out
short
of me.
distance away, staring at me with eyes that had suddenly lost their gleaming laughter. That was when it struck me like a bolt of thunder: bottlenose dolphins never swim this deep. They definitively would never venture to the abyssal depth of the drop-off I had seen this one emerge from. As I had this very revelation, the flesh of the dolphin shifted and rippled in both shape, texture and color. And I saw the thing's eyes burning with a cold and malevolent intelligence that I have never before and have never since witnessed even amongst the worst of mankind. The thing in front of me was no dolphin but rather a clever impostor from some yet unknown secretive species of mollusk. There was a moment where the both of us locked eyes, daring the other to make the first move. A tendril reached out
Yeah,
from
he's
the mass
okay.
and grasped
He
at my
gets
camera, slowly but
he
firmly
gets
pulled
just
it
he's
from
just
my
older
grasp.
now. He
Apparently
barks a
satisfied,
lot. Like we have
the
a lot of
creature
planes in
tethered
our
away
area
cloud
and
of
stuff,
thick black ink, leaving me
and
to surface without
helicopters,
a
I think
single speck
sometimes.
of proof,
And if he hears like
evidence,
a
or
plane
answers.
flying over the
I fully
house,
believe that the
fucking
only
guy will
reason I
just
still
go off.
breathe
I
is
think
that
he
the
thinks
creature
he's
knew my
scaring
boat's
him off.
discovery nearby with me missing
So
would
like,
bring greater danger
you know,
to
good
him
on
than I
him.
could
But
by
like,
myself.
holy shit, he really just freaks
Alright,
out
I'm back
sometimes.
for a bit. I talked to
He
the
also
old biologist
misses
again. We're going
my
to call
mom,
him
who
Murray to
is
make my life a
away
little bit
right now
easier.
visiting family.
Now, Murray is a bit of a
But
character. He talks and
man,
swears
this
like
dog
an old sea
sometimes he
captain
just really
despite
goes
being
hard.
a marine biologist, and always seems
Great
to have
dog,
a
though.
ready
I love him.
excuse for why he has no proof of
It's
the
like
things
only
he's
8
apparently
now.
seen.
I don't know.
I'm
It's
not
kinda old.
particularly inclined to believe him most days out of the week, but I still find the stories fascinating. I asked him for a bit more in-depth explanation on the creature he saw, and his thoughts on it. His belief is that there is an unknown sentient species of cephalopod in the
Yeah,
ocean.
like he'll
Cephalopods are squids,
he's
octopus,
my parents sleep
etc.
in
case
separate
you're
rooms
wondering.
because my dad snores really loud.
Cephalopods are strange creatures with a remarkable
And
ability
so,
to mimic other forms of life.
He
They
likes
also have
to
a level of
be in the room my
intelligence
mom
that has
sleeps
still
in,
to
like
this
on the
day not
bed,
been fully
and
studied or
he can look
documented.
out the window
Octopus in
while
the
being
wild
on the
in
bed.
captivity have been recorded to wave
So if
back
he
at
sees
humans
like
in
a
an almost
truck pass
friendly
by,
manner.
or a
Supposedly
car,
an unknown,
or like
intelligent
people
species of
walking across the street,
cephalopod
sometimes he'll
existed
just
if it
freak
did
out
not
and
want
like
to be
start
found.
barking.
It would be extremely
Or like
difficult or
if
impossible to
someone
find.
rings the
Their
doorbell,
ability to hide and mimic other
he'll
forms
freak
of life
out.
is unmatched,
Recently I had to
especially if
install a
matched
new
with a
doorbell
keen
because
intellect.
it was
The
the old
creature
one was
described by
deteriorating.
Murray was able to create a near-perfect
this fucking
mimicry
guy,
of a bottlenose dolphin.
I
This
love
is
him.
actually completely within the
But
realm
every
of reality.
time the wires
There is a
touched in a
species
weird
of
way that made
octopus
the
known
doorbell
as the
go
mimic
off,
octopus that
he would just
mimics a
freak the
wide
fuck
variety of
out.
creatures with stunning accuracy.
And he was looking right
This
at
is
me.
achieved
The
by
door was
complete
open.
control of the shape, texture, and
I don't know
color of its body.
what's up with him, but
It's
still a
possible
pretty
that
good
this
dog.
unknown deep-sea mimic is also responsible for the black diver phenomena. A cephalopod of sufficient size could easily mimic human movement and mannerisms from the inside of a wetsuit. The black blood to me indicates that this might be the case. I wonder what these mimics might think of us humans. Invaders from the land. What secrets or mysteries might they hold? Could they have secret cities hidden in great unknown caverns at the bottom of the sea? What purpose does imitating a human diver serve? Are they just observing us, or are their plans more sinister? The entire idea frankly has me a bit on edge. These things could be hiding anywhere, disguised as anything. I might have swam past one a dozen times, been watched by them hundreds. Do they know me? Do they have a name for me? If these things exist, I think it's better that they remain hidden and these questions remain unanswered. I tried to convince Murray of that, but he remains dead set on proving that they exist. There's one more question that's itching at the back of my mind. If it was a cephalopod mimic in that empty diving suit I saw, where the hell did it get the suit? They must either scavenge the suits from dead divers, or actively murder divers to steal their suits and gear. I've heard enough stories about murderous octopus to not like where that is going one bit. So if you find yourself often beneath the waves of the ocean as I do, be wary of any unknown divers, and objects that don't belong.
There's technically a part 2. I'll play the part 2.
Diver and on again. Back with some more stories from my colleagues and friends around the world. Please sit around the campfire and enjoy a good old-fashioned thread. They don't make them like they used to. I post these threads regularly every Friday night, so be sure to check in for new stories every week. Have you heard of the raptures of the deep? Few people have. 30 meters below the surface, water pressure alters the properties of gases within the human body. What was once harmless or vital begins to poison your mind. The deeper the depth, the deadlier the poison becomes. Symptoms include impairment, euphoria, laughter, anxiety, hallucinations, hysteria, terror, and death. And yet, we still venture into these depths, risking our lives and minds. Delving into a place where the barrier between the mind and reality becomes thin. Those of us who return can bring with us only memories of that alien world beneath the waves. These are some of those memories. Tales from beyond the depths of madness. Tonight, I'm going to be shining a spotlight on an aspect of the ocean that usually flies under the radar. Something far deadlier than all the sharks, squids, and various denizens of the deep that somehow isn't nearly as widely known or feared. I am of course, Talking about the currents of the ocean. If you've ever been surfing or spent any amount of time in the ocean, you will be able to appreciate what I'm talking about. Current is power in its most raw form. Inescapable, absolute. Once a current has grabbed you, there is no escape. Fighting will just exhaust your energy reserves and kill you quicker. There are many currents that are known, dangerous killers. What people never talk about are the phantom currents. Like rogue waves, these streams of water seemingly appear and vanish at will within the ocean, sucking divers and swimmers to their death without warning. Superstitious divers will often tell you, the sea isn't awake. She's asleep, dreaming. And she takes as much as she gives. I've had plenty of close calls and experiences with currents, some more harmless than others. The one I remember most clearly, oddly enough though, is the one where I was in the least danger. It was a normal night dive, as normal as dives at night can be. Anyone who has ever been on a night diver knows what I'm talking about. The darkness is so black, so complete that it consumes you. The way down is nothing but black abyss in every direction. It takes a lot of getting used to. It still freaks me out, even after I've done it over 100 times. Like most of my non-professional dives, this one was purely an exploratory one. The ocean and everything in it have always held a fascination for me. All sorts of stuff tends to accumulate at the bottom of the ocean, and I'm always trying to find it. My one rule is to look, but never take. The sea takes and gives in equal measure. If you take from her, she'll take from you. That might seem like a bunch of old sailor bullshit, but it has more truth to it than you might imagine. My discovery on that night came near the end of the dive, right before I was about to head back. Just as I'd made my mind up to return to the boat, I spotted something jutting out of the sea floor. It was a raft of sorts, improvised and constructed out of decrepit wooden boards and logs. A few objects lay nearby. An old disposable plastic water bottle. A plastic flip phone. 2 old flip-flops. A metal cooking pot. Some cloth sacks. A tiny bottle so overgrown with algae that the rubber nipple looked like a plant sprout. After investigating further, I found another raft. Then another. And another. Hundreds of rafts of various construction type, quality and decay. Many of them must have been hundreds of years old, if not older. One of the rafts had an old flintlock pistol set beside it, albeit rusted to such a degree it was nearly unrecognizable. The entire area was a massive underwater grave. That's the only way I can describe it. Just looking at it gave me chills. Not from danger, but from the profound nature of what I was witnessing. Hundreds, perhaps thousands of years of desperate, failed voyages on improvised craft collected in one area by an undersea current. I never found a single bone or body, just the remains of the craft that had sunk beneath them. This story is very personal to me because discoveries like this are the very essence of why I take the risks of diving alone at night. Unknown, forgotten and unseen stories, lying silent at the bottom of the sea. Remnants of a life long since dead and gone, all hopes, dreams and experiences gone with it. I wish more than anything I could have spent longer down there poring over every raft, every item. But my oxygen was running out. And when I returned the next day to the exact same spot, I found nothing but sediment and bare seabed. The Hole. This story comes from the father-in-law of a young diver that Frank trained. We'll call him Ibrahim. The area of the world Ibrahim is from has a long cultural history of diving, long preceding modern scuba gear. An entire culture developed over the ages of the songs and stories of the pearl divers, venturing into the depths in hope of finding hidden treasures.
For like another,
and like with all things, the sea gives and takes in equal measure.
And then we'll cut it
For
off.
every beautiful, luminous gem
so far
of
it's
the
been
deep
pretty
taken
fun.
from her,
Thanks
the sea will take
to everyone
something
who's
in
still here.
return. Sometimes a ring, an heirloom, a jeweled diving knife. Sometimes much more. There's one legend among these pearl divers that has apparently existed in one form or another since antiquity. The name is in their native language, but it roughly translates to the chasm or the hole. It's common to hear it referred to amongst pearl divers talking about a lost friend or comrade. The hole got him. So, what is the hole? It's not a place, apparently, so much as it is a thing. It supposedly appears without warning, silently sucks a victim into its gaping maw and vanishes without warning. The divers don't describe it as a creature, though they do speak as if it is a living thing. Descriptions of supposed survivors speak of a giant circular chasm opening beneath them in the sea floor, with a strong current sucking unfortunate divers down into its abyssal blue depths, never to be seen again. Top rig trawler. This story comes from a former deckhand on a deep-sea trawler that did fishing off the coast of Australia. I get a lot of stories from that part of the world. Weird shit happens down under, it seems. We'll call our young intrepid deckhand Paul. He was trying to earn some quick money working on a fishing vessel, though his career was doomed to be short-lived. There's a couple details he described that are important to the story. This happened a while back, when Australian fishing was a booming business. Big money was being made, and lots of people wanted in. So it wasn't uncommon to see boats of various being converted into fishing trawlers. The problem with this of course being that the boats aren't designed to mount the heavy nets and fishing machinery used by a trawler. Paul never learned about this until after his ill-fated first voyage, otherwise he claims that no amount of money would have lured him on board. As he described it, the disaster struck on their very first haul. The official story is that their net hit a snag. It was Paul's first time, so it's hard to say whether or not his opinion has much merit. But in his opinion, something had grabbed the net and was pulling them down. And because the trawler was top-rigged as he described, the entire boat lurched over with the net and capsized in just a few moments. However, it wasn't the ship capsizing and sinking without warning that stuck with Paul the most. It was what happened after. He dove and swam for safety just in time to avoid being pulled down with ship. After taking a breath, he dove back down to see if there was anyone he could help. Most of the crew had surfaced already or were swimming up, but one man was swimming down, after the ship. He managed to grab the end of a trailing rope and began to pull himself down towards the ship as it rapidly sunk into the gloomy depths. He turned back to look at the surface before sinking out of sight for good. The man's face was etched with the most indescribable agony possible. Just by looking at his face, into those eyes, Paul said that he could feel that man's pain. The expression still haunts him to this day. The hopeless eyes, the agonized expression, hair swirling around as he sank further and further beyond the surface's light. Thanks to another nearby boat, almost all of the crew survived. There were only 2 fatalities: the captain, and his son. This next story is a pretty short one. Last one for the night, but I have a big juicy one that I'll be posting sometime tomorrow. Not sure when. I'm going fishing with a bunch of buddies. I'll try to write it up between bites. This is a story I've heard through the grapevine in various forms a bunch of times. I suspect it's a single story going through the telephone game over and over again, but it might have been several different stories with similar shared elements. The element that ties all of the stories is the one I started this thread out with. The divers are swimming somewhere out in the ocean, far from land. A current appears out of nowhere, sucking one of the divers downwards. It is so strong that the diver is pulled down out of sight within the space of less than 30 seconds, almost before the other divers can react. Some stories have divers vanishing from the middle of a group without a trace or anyone seeing them leave the group. The strangest thing about these stories is the extremely localized nature of the current, as it is almost always only a single diver that is sucked down while the others are unaffected. If I were to take a guess, it seems like some sort of strange localized whirlpool phenomenon caused perhaps by 2 massive underwater currents colliding with one another. I've certainly seen stranger things at those depths. If you enjoy Murray's stories, old cranky biologist who claims the black carpet ate his ROV, then you'll enjoy this one. I didn't know this until hearing this story, but Murray was a military diver during the Vietnam War, in a harbor clearing unit. They did salvage, recovery,
This feels a little
repair,
mean. I'll be
rescue,
honest.
clearing minefields,
This feels a little bit
etc.
mean, but
don't
you know,
think
I
any
hope.
description of mine
I
could
hope
do
she'll
justice
laugh.
to
I
what
kind
he
of
saw, so I'll
kind of
jump
feel bad
straight
drawing
into
this
the
a little
story.
bit, but I
was
I
young
think
back
she'll
then.
laugh.
Not
It's a
young, I
SpongeBob meme.
suppose.
She loves
I
those,
didn't
right,
feel too young,
guys?
but sure was a hell of a lot younger than now. I got signed up into the Frogmen. And it was, well, I sure was thankful to not be out with the rest of them boys being shot to shit by Charlie. And well, I wasn't too afraid of it. The depths, dark, whatnot. We had those back then. It was the circular masks, regulators and real big clumsy tanks. And it was maybe more primitive than what we got today. But it was really, even the worst missions, it wasn't too bad. And maybe I felt some guilt about that, because all them other boys were getting shot up by Charlie and me. My job wasn't nearly so dangerous. So that was why I guess, when they said there was a need for a volunteer from and mind you I was in the Harbor Clearing Unit, Harbor 1. So when they said that there was need for a volunteer from Harbor 1 for some
sure she's
mission on the
seen the
mainland,
episode. Everyone
well I
knows
stood right
that
up and said
meme.
yes sir, that's me. They flew me out on a Huey with a bunch of Air Mobile boys straight away after that. I went to grab my gear, but they said just get straight on the Huey and there'll be gear waiting. At the location, there'd be gear on location is what they said. I tried to chat up the Air Mobile boys on the way in, sort of suss out what the situation maybe was, but they were tight-lipped. In fact I couldn't get nothing out of no one about the mission till I was right there. Some high-ranking guy, colonel or something I reckon, was there and he points me toward this hole in the ground. And it was one of them VC tunnels that you hear about sometimes from other GIs who were deployed out there. They'd run in their tunnel to hide, then pop out to shoot you in the back execution-like, and sometimes there'd be almost a whole city down there. They'd have dozens of tunnels and passages and rooms. There was so many of them that we had to have a whole division that was called the Tunnel Rats. Them Tunnel Rats was engineers. You think that'd be a pretty sweet gig, pretty safe. But those tunnel boys, they gave em a knife, pistol, a flashlight, and sent em down into these holes to clear out any VC that would be hiding down there. And they tried gas, they tried bombs, even flooding the tunnels, but Charlie was a clever devil and he'd build a dozen different ways in and out with some sort of water, like locks that'd keep the bomb from collapsing the whole thing or filling up with water. So eventually they would just send one boy in there with a gun to clear it, and I guess if he didn't come out then they send another one in there after him. Charlie would have all sorts of devilish traps in there, clever bastards they were, spears through the walls, bamboo spikes, all manner of venomous creatures hidden. And all of that made for a hideously dangerous job of climbing in those tunnels. So when this Colonel Major whoever says to me climb in this hole, I tell him with all due respect to go fuck himself. I'm a frogman, not a tunnel rat. You sir can go fuck yourself is what I said. He says the tunnel got the all clear from the rats already, no traps or Charlie in there. And I was a bit suspicious about that, but they brought out the guy who cleared it and he told me that it was near as safe as a VC tunnel ever could be, though beyond a point they'd flooded it by accident or to cover their tracks. I don't think anybody was certain on that. So that was why they had needed me for the job. Colonel Major Sarge was of the mind that if the VC flooded themselves in or out, then there'd be valuable intel or something important hidden down at the bottom of that flooded tunnel.
You're back.
So they handed me a pistol, and a rope to drag my gear behind with on account of how narrow the tunnel was. At this point I was more than a bit uncertain about this operation, but what I figure is that if someone had to be doing it then. So there I was, crawling headfirst into some gook hellhole designed by the devil incarnate with nothing but flashlight, pistol and dive gear being dragged on rope behind me. It was a sure tight fit and I've never been too fond of those. And at one point it got steep, real steep, and if there was no way to turn around I was doubtful of being able to crawl up again backwards like. It felt quite a bit like, well, like I was going down into hell, with the tunnel narrowing and plunging at such a steep angle down, all the slick and mud with drops of it dripping down from the roof. It got so tight right near the end that I had a hard time breathing, from the tunnel walls scraping on both sides of me, chest and back. It was like being swallowed alive, which was, at this point I would have headed back straight up if I could, but it was just down. The only way I could head was down. So that's what I did. I just kept crawling as the tunnel much was beginning to close on me from all sides. But all I could do was pull myself further in, trying to shine my light up ahead in my mouth, hoping and praying to see a room or wider passage soon. Don't truly know how long I crawled for, cursing at Colonel Stars and Stripes for sending me down here, cursing myself for being stupid enough to actually crawl into a gook hellhole voluntarily. I was barely wriggling through the tunnel at this point, when I finally spotted the reflection of water a further ways down.
He's looking through the blinds because the blinds are closed in the room he's in.
I'm barely able to crawl or even breathe proper as I sit.
He might just be barking at like the shadows outside, or I'm haunted. You know, that's a possibility. That's a whole story for the next time we stream about how I think I'm getting fucking haunted by some bitch ass ghost. What does it say? Request stream tool. Alright, so we got. Alright, we're done with Castpa. Famous last words. I fucking. Yeah. Oh no, someone's home. Hold on. 1 second. All right, good news, guys. It's just my dad. He's come home. Some good news. Uh, so he came home with some good news. It wasn't the ghost, I don't think. But I'll talk about the ghost. I'll talk about it again in the future too. Yeah, I fucked that ghost. What are you gonna do about it? No, so like it started out. Uh, how do I explain this? I listen to these spooky stories, and I got a pretty active imagination, I'd like to say. So, I could picture, if you give me a story about a little creepy ghost doll, kind of picture it. I'll be sitting in my room, I'll look at the doorway, and in my head, I could totally see like little Chucky doll, little Annabelle doll, just standing there. And I know, like, it's like okay, I'm just my mind's like projecting this image, uh, but like I don't know what's actually going on because I have a uh eh, okay, so I was taking a nap or I was going to sleep and I have a friend over and I think this is the first time it started. And I like woke up according to them and said, um like, why are you standing across the room? And they responded, I'm not standing across the room. I'm sitting over here in this chair. And I said, oh, okay. And I went back to sleep. And then I think like the next night, I woke up in the middle of the night and said, why are you standing over me? Because it looked like I saw someone, um, like, is it, I was laying in bed and it was as if someone was standing over me, like their feet were like on the sides of me and like they were standing directly over me looking down at me, and I was like, yo, what the fuck, why are you looking down on me? And then I heard them say, or I was like, why are you standing over me? And I heard the person say like, I'm not standing over you, I'm right here. And I was like, oh, I guess you are. So that was like the first couple times. And then uh recently, they told me this like very recently, uh they had like shifted to lay on their stomach or something, and I woke up like punching the air, which this happened the last couple times too. And I had said like, "Why are you floating over me?" And they said, "I'm not floating over you. I'm just laying down." And I didn't even know this happened. I didn't remember this happening. Uh, so it's just like really weird. And I keep saying it's like a girl. I'm like, "Yeah, why is this fucking bitch doing this?" And I think there's like a couple more other times. Yeah, dude, I fucking wake up throwing punches. I went camping with my friends. Like, guys, I'm gonna be honest with you. There's a chance I wake up and just start fucking Hulk smashing the ground in front of me, next to me. So don't sleep too close to me, because I will fucking wake up and beat the shit out of you. Basically, I don't know what it is. Um, and so yeah, that's that's kind of like my little ghosty story thing. Um, and I guess it's like constantly happening because like I'm constantly hearing, like I hear about every once in a while. It's like, yeah, you did this. I'm like, what the fuck? Or like I talk to myself in my sleep, I guess. Um, but yeah, there's some fucking ghost bitch haunting me because like the whole like, why are you over there? I'm not over there thing has happened a couple times. And that's just when the other person's been awake to witness, like me being like, "Oh, what are you doing?" Yo, base turbulent sleepers. Let's rise up, wake up, and just Hulk smash the shit out of everything, bro. That's what that's the true strength. We're gonna have to move this over. But yeah, I still live with my parents because I like helping them pay for the house. It's a nice house, and it's really expensive where I live. But I give them a lot of rent money, I would say. Although I think it would be the same as if I was renting an apartment. It might actually be a little bit less because of utilities. I don't know. I don't know the prices out here. I just know how homes are expensive. So they they left because I'm not. I'll be honest. I'm not home alone that often anymore. Like at night. So listening to those scary stories really fucks me up because it gets pretty dark out here sometimes. Um, and like they had left to go, I think celebrate something or just to go somewhere. They went to like some place I forgot where. Um, and it was just me and my dog. I think my cat was here too. And I was like, oh shit, I feel it, bros. Oh shit, I'm feeling it. So I got I got my shotgun out. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't think the shotgun's gonna do anything against ghosts if they are real. But it made me feel a little bit better. Um, and I got my dog with me. And I was like, hey buddy, just chill out in the room with me. Don't leave me alone, please. So now you know Tangerine Kick is actually Tangerine Ghost Puncher. And insane. But yeah, I don't think anything happened like scary where I was like, oh, what the fuck? Because I mean, I wouldn't know. Most of the stuff happens when I'm asleep, according to the other person. Um, but yeah, it's just really weird. I don't like it because it started out recently. Like, it wasn't happening before, but I really think it's because I'm listening to too many spooky stories. And it's like messing with me when I'm asleep. And you guys got that? And you guys experienced that? Huh? Fucking ghosts in your house? Yeah, maybe. I take forever to fall asleep. I unless I'm like super tired, sometimes I'll just lay awake at like for like hours. There was a while when I first got my job because it requires me to wake up really early that I was going to bed at like 8 o'clock. Oh, rip the stream. My bad. Yeah, I mean that's an interesting. I never thought about that. Maybe I have like weird insomnia. Like some people got night terrors. Maybe that's my night terrors, but I'm not aware of them. Too busy in the to notice ghosts. Yeah, that's. It's only when I'm not distracting myself that like I get all spooked. Like that night when my parents were gone, it was me and the shotgun. That didn't start happening until I like stopped listening to music. I was listening to music, and I think I was drawing too. And I like stopped, and I was like, "All the lights are off in the house now. I didn't turn them on because it was light when I had left my room last. So now it's dark as shit, and I just want to get some water." Oh, it doesn't help that there's like fucking coats and shit. And like my dad has like statue kind of stuff, like bust and other kind of statue stuff. So like seeing those in the dark fucks with me sometimes. So I was like standing at the fridge, and I looked down this hallway, and I was like, what the fuck? Hate it. Absolutely fucking hate it. Crack pipes from Wish. Yo, I get my crack pipes on Wish, bros. I don't know about you. Yeah, my stream keeps dying. Let's go. Yo, my stream just died. Let's go. Let's go. I don't want to do the dog one. There it goes again. My stream just died. Let's go. Do like a little Mama, can I get a crack pipe from Wish, please? I want to beat Pink Trooper with it, please. Does Wish tailor your recommendations depending on what you've been searching? I'm worried about Mama's search history, bro. Let's go. You know what? I guess we could do it on stream. Quick. Let's look at Wish. I've never opened wish.com. Ever. So we'll see what my recommendations are. Already, there's a fucking... Oh, wait, I have to make an account? Yo, fuck this. No. We're not gonna do that. But it's showing me, like... Dude, I have to... I don't want to. But it's, like, advertising, like... I see, like, weird, shitty sneakers, jewelry, whole bunch of tape. It's like... This fucking... What the fuck is this? Hold on, I gotta take a snip of this. Yo, like, what is some of this stuff? Yeah, paste it in the Paint Studio style. Yo, edit, file new from clip. Look at this! Oh, dude, fucking, you should have said anything. Now we're... Actually, I started this. Now we're doing Wish 2.0. Look at this. What the fuck is this? It's like, it's for children, right? But why? And then, like, these shoes, bro. These are hot. You gotta get them, bro. The new Yeezys. You gotta get the drip. It's too much, bros. It's too much. I want to say it probably tailors to like what you search. Hot, no fake, no clone, new shoes for $2. Dude, fucking... Why is my stream dying? It's because my dad's home and he's watching naughty stuff, I swear. Because he's based. Fucking... It might be tailored to your recommendations, but I think it's like fucking up her recommendations because I'm pretty sure she's like very into fashion. And I think maybe they just like have injections or like she's into what, like not fashion, well maybe fashion, like makeup and perfume and all that stuff, like all the nice lady stuff. So maybe Wish is like in such a fucked... Holy shit, my stream really is just holy... I'm sorry, bros, my stream's fucking dying. Maybe they're just tailoring, like, that's what they consider, like, their popular stuff for beauty supplies. And that's why she's getting it. Because, like, I've seen Wish ads on my, like, on my phone, on, like, Google Chrome, I think. Or, like, some other shit, I don't remember. And it's, like... It always knows, like, the stuff I want, because obviously they collect your data, and, yeah, fuck them, but, like, it's always advertising, like, I think it was advertising Warhammer stuff, like I said earlier in the stream when I was doing Warhammer, and, oh, you know, by state, that'd be interesting, like, what's popular in your state? Crack, alright, guys, we know where she is at, crack pipes and fake teeth. Fonder boys. Dude, that's so fucked if your state is crack pipes and fake teeth. I wonder what my state would be. It'd probably be like fucking Gucci rip-off shit, honestly. Show your wish. Doxed, basically. What is it? The loops. Our brother, the loops. Is that the meme? Brother, may I have some loops? Well, dude, mother, may I have some crack pipe? May I have some? What was it? Needles? No, fake teeth. Dude, troopers need fake teeth. They don't have they're turtles. They don't have teeth. Someone said in the stream. It all makes sense now. There's one guy I watched on YouTube. He made like little weird like alien creatures out of like clay, or not clay, but like some kind of like plastic or something. He like sculpted them, and he did like little films with them, and they were like weird little creepy guys with like hyper realistic like skin, and he glued like googly eyes on them, and like he'd make teeth out of like this plastic that you could put in a mug. I forgot what it was called. You could like put it in a mug and put hot water in it or something, or microwave it, I don't remember, and it like becomes pliable. Yo, my fucking dad is killing me watching this fucking... I'm gonna fucking out my dad right now. This fucking guy. I go on the TV in the front room with I'm hanging out with my friends. We're on YouTube, and the TV saves the YouTube searches, and I open it. I'm like, oh, guys, let's search for this funny video. Haha, let's watch it. And fucking the YouTube recommendation or the search history is fucking like bikini haul try on or whatever. And like other bikini stuff. And my friends thought it was me. They're like, dude, you watch this in the front room? Like, it's not me. It's my dad. And I like that was like the one time where something like that was not me. And I was like, guys, you have to believe it's my dad. It's not me. And I told I'm like, Dad, thanks a lot. My fucking friends think I'm just looking at this stuff in the front room. And he was like, I don't know what you're talking about. It's like, all right, dude. I believe you. Very based if you ask me, though. Like, because he's an artist too, so I don't know if he's watching it for that reason or if he's like drawn and stuff. But that's another thing that's kind of weird. He does like art and stuff, and like little sculptures and stuff. He's not famous or anything, so like you won't find him. I don't even think he posts his stuff online. But like I grew up, and he's got like these statues of like women with their titties out. Like, can I say that word on Twitch? Doesn't matter. I don't care. It's got like statues he's made of women like laying down with their boobs out. And I've had those around since I was a little kid. I remember as a little kid, I used to always like touch the boobs and be like, booba. And very based. Yeah, basically. And my friend, I grew up and that's normal for me, right? Like having the booba statue art. And he's got other stuff too, but like that's kind of like the most notable stuff. And my friends came over. Like, this is like, I'm an adult, like, you know, I'm an adult now. This is a couple years back when we were like still like very early in our adult years. And my friend walked in, and this fucking guy, he's like, whoa, dude, they got their titties out. It's like, yeah, it's art. And he started like they're like small statues. You could like, I don't know, like you put the booba between your finger basically. And he's like fondling that. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? That's so weird. And then they were laughing and just like fondling these statues. I was like, guys, stop. That's so weird. I did that as a kid though. And then I think we were talking recently. It's like, dude, I can't wait for the quarantine to be over. We can hang over. Guys, like, yeah, I can't wait for the quarantine to be over and I can go touch the booba statues. It's like, you fucking guy. So, I grew up with that kind of stuff around. Dude, it's fucking rock. Come on. Wish in my house? No, 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 no. We're an Alibaba family. You want fake Yeezys? Gotta get them on eBay. Or Amazon. I think Koopa talked about it. Fake Yeezys on Amazon. This is an Amazon household. How dare you? Don't even fucking open Wish. Oh yeah, and my mom uses the TV too. Like, she started using it after that to like watch like stuff. So like, I don't know if she realized or not that it was there. I've actually bought more cheap tat on Ali than I'm proud to admit. Cheap tat. What do you mean by tat, bro? Is that code word for crack? Never Wish though. I've never used AliExpress or Wish, thankfully. Although I am interested in some Wish level 3A bulletproof body armor. It was your mom like, oh, ah! Oh, I gotta rinse my hands. I got Cheetos. I got like a little thing of Cheeto dust on my pinky. Dude, not my mom's. Yeah, crap, basically. Brick bong slang. Yo, you seen that video of like oh, okay. I'll bring up the video in a second, but you know that like effect from like the Avengers Infinity War where like they just turn into dust? I wanna, if I ever complete my fucking model, I wanna do like an effect like that. So I could just use it all the time. Like, oh, rip Tangerine, he fucking sucks. I'm like, oh no, guys, ah! And like the audio cuts out and I fucking fade into dust. That's the kind of visual humor shit I'm talking about that I want to be able to enjoy. But you've seen that you're Brit Bronx, so you got like what's that? What's like your equivalent of like the ghetto again? Uh like Roadman? Is that what the kind of like, I don't know what to call it, like Roadman um kind of speak or whatever? Cuz there's some video I was watching, it was like, it makes me laugh. It's like um some like, it was like, what's it called? Like British soldier from the East End or whatever, or the End or whatever you guys call it, like, or something, or if like a British soldier was from the East End and he's got like a fucking, it's like some kind of war reenactor guy, and he's got like the whole musket, the Bessie or whatever. It's fucking, that video makes my soul glow. Yeah, I think it's good. It's pretty good. Big laugh. Are you dumb, blood? God, just even thinking about it makes me giggle. Dude, I laugh at the dumbest stuff. Speaking of those friends that I love very much, we were hanging out, and we were playing those David Cage games, like Beyond Two Souls. We didn't play Heavy Rain. I think we only beat Beyond Two Souls. We played it over a weekend, and God, there's like, I laugh so much at like slapstick, really dumb, like, oh, this guy ran into a pole. Like, that makes me like laugh so hard. And so there's like a portion of the game, because it's like all quick time events, I think, and like moving around barely for the game. And there's a portion of the game where you're like at army camp or something, or like boot camp, and she's you control her through quick time events, and like you can just run into a piece of wood, like you're supposed to duck. And I was really bad at the quick time events. I forgot what it was, like if it was a trigger or like a button or something. And she would just smack into it, and I just couldn't breathe. I was laughing so hard. I was giggling like a child, and I just couldn't breathe. And I was like, this is too funny. I can't stop doing it. And so I just kept like running into it on purpose, and my friends were getting annoyed. They were like, why are you doing this? Like, dude, come on, please. It's so funny. You have to believe me. It was a good time. We ended up beating it. For the laughs, it was like a 5 out of 10. Very fun to laugh at. Very fun with the friends. Other than that, it wasn't like anything to write home about, I would say. How do I hand? Dang, bros, we're getting close to 3 hours. And I'm having so much fun with you guys. Feels like it's only been 20 minutes. I'm still thinking about the fucking East End 18th century soldier thing, damn it. Kind of, I don't know what I'm gonna do after this. I have to pick someone up from babysitting. Actually, pretty soon, I think. I'm gonna finish this drawing, post the stuff, and then well, finish the drawing, probably stop the stream, and then post the stuff. But we're like a bit off from that. I know, I just realized I was like, oh, I'll finish streaming top of the hour. It's been 18 minutes since the top of the hour, and I'm still having tons of fun. So. Hope you guys are having fun too. You're having fun? Great news. Gonna make it, troopers. Mother. May I have some fake teeth? Mother. The loops. Yo, what if we made him a pink? No. No head dance. We're gonna be nice. Keep him green. Keep this, okay, keep this here stream greens only. I don't want to see no pink. The only pink I want to see is if it's not your focus, it's whatever, dude. I'm just happy you're here. I wouldn't expect you to focus on the stream too much either, though. It is kind of hard to watch. I think art streams usually. I used to watch a few, but I remember it was always like I'd have like something else running, because I think a lot of the ones I used to watch when I was younger, there was usually no commentary or anything. And like it would just be me sitting there watching the stream, maybe in stream chat. And just looking at them draw. To be honest, I was usually tabbed out. I like Troopa designs. They're fun to draw. They're so simple, and like I'll be honest, the first time I saw them when I was like finding out about Koopa, I was like, oh, these guys are cute. And then it took me like a day or two to realize, oh, they're shotgun shells. And I'm gonna be honest, like very recently I kind of realized shotgun shell, turtle shell, they both have shells. And that it's been like a month, bros. And it took me that long to realize. I'm sorry. I think I'm gonna fill this page with Troopas just for fun, and then that'll be it. Did I get a text about picking up the person from babysitting? I did not. Was this a notification? Huh. Weird. Some deep lore that guys who first made the Troopa said he wasn't thinking of shotgun shells and making them. I was the one who did the turning point Troopa meme last thread. Gave me a minute of consideration on how to incorporate the shotgun shell in a fab. Wait, is that the one I'm thinking about? Hold on, let me go look at it. Because if that is the one I'm thinking... Dude, that one was really good. I think I know which one you're talking about. I autistically browse these threads, by the way. If you shit talk me, I will know, and I will cry. I'm not afraid to cry on stream, bros. I'll fucking do it. Can hear my little scroll wheel. Damn, cute Troopas. They're so cute, bros. Oh, I see. Um, what's it called? Yeah. This one. Oh wait, hold on. Let me get the voice changer out. Should I do the cave? The cave is my favorite. You know what? I know which one.
8 rich, 8 YouTube, 8 when mom gets sick, 8 pinks, not racist, just don't like them. Love Koopa mom, love me Oshi, love my troopers, love big mommy milkers. Simple as.
That was a good one. I really appreciate that one. Very, very nice. Shit, what am I doing? There we go, it is a stream. I do very much like it. It gives me a giggle. Very well done. I want to figure out how to save my VOD, and I'm gonna post the highlights of this for my boys, or probably just for me. But you know, the times we spent together, they've meant so much to me. You know, my friends are my power. Is it .com? It's .com, right? It's not .net. Oops. Oh, that's my neighbor. Hold on. Never mind. Probably a missed call. That makes sense. I have not talked to that lady in like a year. I used to dog sit for her. Before I had like a real job. Kind of she's okay. She's kind of weird. Very controlling. She very adamantly admitted that, like, oh yeah, I'm a control freak. Very specific instructions for the dogs. I did love the dogs though, for the most part. They were very nice. Although she ended up not liking one of the dogs she adopted too much. So it's kind of mean to him. A little mean to him. She'll leave a message, which is important. Needles. Crack pipe. Crack pipe. Dude, what if we just make this like the messed up teeth you do find in like the little dollar thingies? Like you guys know what I'm talking about, right? The little coins machines where it's like, look at my fucked up teeth. And you put them in. At least I did as a kid. It's probably a big mistake to do that. Not wash it. Just a straight up fucking gun, bros. High point on suicide watch. Oh shit, you're right. Oh, I know what we can do. Dude, we gotta make the screen bigger, dude. It's the only way. Dude, what if it's mom? I want the fake teeth. It's mom. Where is that? Where you got my necklace? Dude, I kind of want to do that now. That's a good one. Huh? How do we implement this? I know how to implement this. The dent. Gotta have the dent. Dude, what if I just fucking I know what I must do. Wish.com pendant. I was gonna draw it, but you know what? I'm just gonna. Oh, I can't get on Wish. I didn't even need to sign up. Nope, I do need to sign up. I want to go to the homepage, and now it's forcing me to sign up to view the sun pendant. Almost, dude. There's your fucking $3. These are all the ones that Koopa saw. Guys, it's a steal. Listen. You're sleeping on it. You guys are sleeping on these pendants. You gotta get them now. They're almost gone. And I can't even open the image. But if I look up Google Images, it does indeed show me these fucking pendants. Copy image. Yo, let's... What the fuck? Oh, paste in the corner. That's right. Hey, let's go! Fortuna, my mom just got me this pendant. Let's go! Which one? Dude, what if we give him the daughter one? That'd be kind of funny. Let's give him the daughter one. Yeah, apply transform. Dang, troopers. Thanks for the 6 suggestions. Without the suggestions, I would have never thought about this wish.com bullshit. I think I had something in mind when I was watching the stream, but I couldn't remember at this point anymore what it is. Gotta make this as shitty as possible, actually. Now, how do we do God race? Glow layer effect. Yo, what is this? I know what to do, I think. Oops. Poor Troopa. He doesn't even know how bad it is, bros. If only you knew how bad things were. He doesn't even know, bro. I wasn't gonna draw him drinking Capri Sun because Fortuna probably doesn't give a shit about his teeth rotting out. Wait, he doesn't even have teeth. Anyways, but now he's complete. He's whole. I forgot. I gotta write in the marker pen because I can't do it the other way. Dude, can troopers read? I'm gonna say pinks can't read. Wish. Fuck. Yo, Auntie Fortuna just got me these cool pendants. Let's go. I bet the greens won't make fun of him now. Mom, get the camera. Pink's freaking out again. Thanks, guys. This has been a really fun stream. I fucking love drawing troopers, though. They're so cute. Let's see, weird turtle faces. That's gonna be a weird one, actually. Never mind. It's actually exactly what I wanted. I thought, like, as I was typing in weird turtle face, I thought it'd give me like some kind of like weird furry stuff. Turns out it's just gonna give me actual turtle faces. I think I swear to God I've seen a turtle like like half close its eyes, like a dog when you scratch its head and they like kind of half close their eyes. All right, we're gonna do one last pink, and that's a lie. So we're gonna do one last pink, but that's a lie. We're gonna color. We gotta color Koopa's hair, and that'll take just a second. Let's see. That's right. We gotta dent our boy. It's more of like a sucking noise when you're drinking complete Capri Sun, right? Like a. How do you make a noise? What is that called? What would the onomatopoeia for be? It's like slurping? Vicious. Vicious. Is that how you spell? I feel so stupid. Is that how you spell vicious? Oh god, my brain's broken. I can't even type either. Yo, sick, I got it right. Let's go. Oh, the other thing I always forget to draw on Koopa is the collar. There we go. The choker, not the collar. The choker, not the collar. I swear. Oops. Ah! Nope, okay. Do it. My mom used to give me Capri Suns all the time when I was a kid. Turns out she was trying to fucking destroy my tree. Tree teeth. Ah! Blame broken. Yeah, dude, I'm fucking stroking out. What's new? At least my voice hasn't given out. I've had like a thing recently in the last like year or two where my voice like after yelling and shouting and talking for a couple hours like starts going out. Don't know what it is. Should probably go to the doctor. I do have health insurance, but you know, I'm scared of doctors. They gave me a sick time for getting like COVID vaccination at work, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna get it like very soon. I was gonna give it like a little bit of time before I went out and got one, but I got sick time that will count for having to go get the shot, and then if I have any like allergies or side effects, the handful of people I know that have gotten it though, they've been okay for the most part. I think like some of them had like a headache. My friend was like super tired after. He was like completely out of energy the day he got it. And then the lady in my HR department at work was telling me that like she had a headache the day after. Then the day after that it was okay, but then the third day after she had like another headache. But she said she was okay after that. And everyone so far has been telling me that like, oh yeah, you get arm pain too. But I mean, we'll see. I kind of miss. We used to go on road trips, like my friends and I, and my friend just refuses to hang out with me, or be anywhere near me because of since the corona started, or sorry, the cough started. Um, because I still have to go to my job every day, and he gets to work remotely. I think he's gone somewhere for work like twice in the last since the quarantine started. So he just refuses to be anywhere near me because I go to the store to buy stuff like groceries, and he's always like, "Why are you doing that?" It's like, dude, what the fuck? I guess I can order it, but like, Jesus. And then I was talking to someone else that I know that owns like a kind of restaurant thing, and they were saying like it's very different for people like me and them who have basically not stopped showing up to work really unless they were forced to. And they had like one scare at work or something in like the last year, but like it's very different between like us who have been not really like we had to. This is a bit too much, your friend, I say. Oh, like not going anywhere near me, or what? Because like he said that we'd hang out if I didn't go out anywhere to like the store for like 2 weeks straight. But then I reminded him like, well, I still have to go to work. Um, but he's like, yeah. Then he was saying like, I think he was saying like if we get the vaccine, we can probably hang out again. I think I don't know if he never confirmed it, but I'm pretty sure that we will go on road trips again because I fucking miss those. You never know how much you miss something until it's gone and it's real. That's such a real feeling, bros. I used to be so angry on those trips. I don't know why. And I was always sleeping in the car. I'm not going to say what landmark it is, but I missed like a kind of it's not like a landmark, but it was something interesting. I was asleep in the car and they thought, no, he doesn't care about this. And then I woke up like an hour later and like, oh yeah, we saw this thing. I was like, what the fuck? Why didn't you tell me? It's like, oh, you're asleep. It's like, dude, come on. So what? Wake me up and tell me like it's this thing. That's cool. I missed this. Like, what the hell? And then they left me in the car in the morning in the sun like a fucking animal because I don't even think they rolled down the windows and I was just like in the sun. And this was like in July or something. They went into a Subway to get breakfast because we had slept in the car the night before because of bad planning, or we just were naive to getting hotels and stuff. And they left me in the fucking car. Like, oh, we're at Subway. Wake up, so and so. Wake up, Tangerine. And it's like, no. And so they left me in the car. And I remember at one point, I was wearing my sweater. I took it off, and I had like cracked the door open a little bit, and I was like leaning against the door, just trying to catch like the slightest breeze. And they came back, and they're like, "You okay?" I was like, "No, what the fuck? Why did you guys do something?" Like, well, what are we supposed to do? I was like, "I don't know. You left me. Just roll down the windows." I'm fucking dying in here. And apparently, like, one of them even came to check on me at one point. I don't know when that happened. But yeah, road trips are a lot of fun. This makeup work company. We they gave us company brand masks for Valentine's Day and hand sanitizer. But I don't wear mine. I wear a bandana because it's comfy. But I guess that doesn't really help. From what my friend was telling me, it's not really doing anything. But I've been wearing a bandana since like um I think like a week before masks became mandated in my state. My yeah, my state. Um like is it a it's like a cloth, is it like a cloth one or a paper one or what? Because they gave us cloth ones and I just put it in the wash machine a couple times and it's actually pretty comfortable. Cloth. Bro, just put it in the wash machine. Well, I assume you know. Just put it in the wash machine a couple times with some, like, just with like a couple loads of laundry and the fabric softener or whatever, and see if that helps. Because, like, when I first got it, it smelled like ass and it was kind of scratchy. And then after I threw it in the wash machine, like, I think twice or so, it ended up being okay. I don't know if that'll help though. But I also haven't stopped working since the virus. My one boss, because I have technically like two bosses in a way, um, but like one of them's up above the other. He, the one that's like in a little bit lower position, he works like sales, as well as the department he works for us. Um, and so he stayed home for like the first 4 months until they basically were like telling him like, hey, we need you to come in, even though he didn't want to, and he could do everything from home. They're like, yeah, we just want you to type during this meeting for us or whatever. So he was coming back in, and then his wife got pregnant, so he got time off again, and he just finally started coming back into the workplace. I mean, I say it's crappy, but it's the only reusable mask I've had which hasn't fallen apart from after one wash. But I still doubt that's. I don't. Yeah, I don't think they're that effective for blocking stuff. But I think they're like I had this conversation with the person that has like the restaurant type thing, and it's like I think they're just trying to do whatever they can to slow the spread, even if it seems like the most minuscule thing. I'm kind of used to wearing masks because like a lot of people where I live were like, "What the fuck? I hate this mask. This is awful." But like for me, it was kind of normal because like when I first started working there, like the first like the week after I started working there, I got a really bad sinus infection where I was like running a fever. So I remember like I went in and like I fell asleep at my desk and I was like chugging tea, and I just was like sweating and like really fucked up. And my boss like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm okay." And he was like, "Are you sure you don't need to go home? Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, no, I'm okay. Like, I'm just kind of tired." And he's like, "Okay, well, if you need to go home, you can go home." And then like 20 minutes later, like, "Actually, can I go home?" And I drove home with my fever brain, and I fell asleep and had fever nightmares. It was awful. But like I was wearing a mask for that, even though it's not contagious. It's a sinus infection because I was coughing and stuff and sneezing, and I was just doing it to be polite. And everyone was like, "What's wrong with you? Why are you wearing the mask?" And it just said, "Oh, well, it's just kind of polite." Like I didn't think it was that weird. And then the Rona happened, and now it's culture. You guys are taking my sick culture. I don't mind the mask though. It does get hot sometimes because I do have to crawl under like desks sometimes to work on stuff, and like, oh god, that's fucking awful. Like it's already hot where I live, and I sweat really easy, so I just hate doing that. And the mask does make it worse, and it does make it a little harder to breathe, especially if I have two different bandana ones. One is like a thicker bandana I've had since I was a kid, and the other is like these two bandanas my mom got me that are like really thin. So I fold them together, and then they become like super thick. And those definitely get like a lot worse. and warmth wise, but you know, it is what it is. I'm glad you still have a job, buddy. You know, get that bread, gamer. Because like I know a lot of people were out of work. Thankfully, I've been able to work the whole time. I did get my hours reduced. I was working like 52 hours a week before, and now I work like 40, which is actually kind of nice. I'll be honest. Um, I have a lot more time to work on my own stuff versus just coming home, watching some videos for like an hour, playing a video game for an hour, and then going to sleep. It was a lot of overtime though, and I do kind of miss that. All right, friends. That's looking pretty funny to me. Pretty good. We got 4 more minutes. We could fuck around for 4 minutes. We'll hit 3 hours. You guys want to see my shitty model that I'm not? Well, you guys will see my model that I'm not using. Yet, cause it's a little bit more tan than I am, and I want to work on it some more. Or I've redone it like multiple times, but it's the only one I ever got a face for. I'm gonna show it. Where is it? And before I fucking put my webcam on, let me put my hand up to the camera. Wait, is it even open? Oh, yeah, there it is. I only did the mouth. So, the eyes don't work. Also, that's like the only moving part I got to do was the mouth. uh So, yeah, this is my I can kind of turn my head. That's like as far as I got with rigging and stuff. But I think I'm going to do another model. Probably. I don't know. I kind of been putting it off. I've been drawing Koopa stuff instead. The eyes really staring at your soul. Yeah, dude. Hold on, let me get closer. Him. I can't get closer. Just finished drawing up a model in PS today, actually. Now it's learning Live 2D to rig for me. Live 2D's kind of fun. I haven't found any tutorials, because, like, I want to get through it quickly, because I'm impatient. And the tutorials I found are all kind of long. And I found one that was explaining stuff, and I went through it, and then the next video in the series was like, oh yeah, by the way, that thing from last video, wrong, redo it. Without like much explanation in either video on how to do it. Like it's the stuff to turn your model to like the side, like to warp it so it looks like you're turning it side to side or whatever. And like it's kind of, I don't know. Oh, stream's dead! Ah! Rip my stream. There's a paste bin full of live 2D tutorial on Western Indie VTube original. I should look at that. I did look at that when I was starting that stuff. There's like the only one I found that I like so far was by the same person, but they did the how to rig mouth movements. And this is as far as I got. But I'll look at the tutorial actually. Thanks for the advice. I completely forgot that was a resource. Let me write that down. Let's see. Well, you know what? I'll just go in the thread and pin it. Or bookmark it. Alright, what are we at? Ooh, 20 more seconds, baby. Well, you know, guys, I appreciate you being here for this. Very awesome, very cool. I'd say successful stream. And you guys are sick. You guys are the best. We're gonna make it. We're all sick cunts. We're gonna make it, bros. I'll keep shilling myself in the thread and on Twitter, and we'll keep doing these. Thanks a lot. All right, bye guys. Oh, I'm gonna play my outro card thing or my other thing. Test that out too. Thanks, guys. Really, really had a good time. You guys are the best. Appreciate you.